Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another Friday night, which means another live lawn care Q&A. My name is Ron Henry, and I'm here to help answer your lawn care questions. If this is the first time you are gracing us with your presence on the live stream, first of all, welcome. The way this works, super simple. On your screen, you're going to see a chat box. In there, you can enter your questions, comments, concerns related to your lawn, and I go through them in the order they come in. Sometimes I have the answer, sometimes I do not, but either way, we have a great time talking about lawn care. All right, so let's see what we have in the live stream tonight. Let's see who we got here. First of all, we got Mr. Jackie Bear. He says, "Hey, brother Ron, it's my birthday. Happy birthday, Jackie. Thanks for coming to hang out. Appreciate you. So definitely happy birthday to you, sir. We're not going to ask how old you are, but, and definitely happy birthday." He says, "Let's roll. Have an excellent live stream tonight. Should be a fun one." There are a few questions from last week, a couple of questions from last week. There were some research topics that we'll get to jump into later on this evening. And then as far as like lawn updates, not a whole lot. The lawn is bouncing back. I'm at the point where I need to send the mower in for a sharpen, the outlet. So I'm back on cutting it with the Greensmaster while the outlet's going to be, or the cartridge is going to be away getting a fresh edge put on it. But yeah, man, overall, looking forward to a fun night. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Your lawns are looking better. Some of the people in Texas, I've gotten some emails. You guys are starting to get rain, which is good. It's good for a change, right? So hopefully that holds out. All right, so let's see who else we have here. We got Mr. Papa Low in the house. He says, VMH saying, "Hey Ron, happy Friday. What's going on, VMH? Thanks for coming to hang out, sir." And then next up is Papa Low saying, "Hello, Ron and everyone's." What's going on, Papa Low? Hopefully you're doing well, sir. Hope you're doing well, sir. I see you anytime you get Miramichi Green products in, you always post it to like Instagram and let everyone know. So I really do appreciate that. It's I'm glad that you're getting awesome results with the stuff that you're getting. So really do appreciate all the support, sir. All right, next up is Dalvin Larry. Dalvin saying, "What's up, Ron? What's going on? How's it going, Dalvin?" And then next it's Higgy Pop saying, "Hey, Ron, happy Friday. Let's hit the like button for Ron. It's free." That is true, guys. If you guys want to support the channel, support the show, and doing something that's not going to cost you anything, touching that like button is a great way to do it. Doesn't cost you anything to do that. Daniel B's like, "Get your popcorn and lemonade out. Get it ready." All right, so our first question of the evening is from Mr. Dalvin Larry. Dalvin's got the honors. He says, "Question 1. Grass is super thick. I did not do a mid-season scalp, and now I am seeing some fungus, what he thinks is leaf spot, due to the thickness. Plan to put down some headway tomorrow, but is it too, I guess he's asking, is it too late to reset the turf?" So yeah, so if you're dealing with leaf spot, if you're sure that that's what it is, some azoxystrobin will typically do the trick for that. Is it too late to do a reset? It's getting, we're getting into almost September, man. So, I put it this way. If you'd done it a month ago, it's likely the lawn would have recovered a lot faster. It depends on how aggressive you're going to get on your reset, on how aggressively you're going to scalp the lawn. It's really your call. It's really your call. We still got plenty of hot weather. Days are still getting into the 80s, so it could recover. But just realize that it could be a few weeks instead of the typical 10 days or so that you would have gotten, like say in July or so. So it's up to you. I haven't seen your lawn personally, but it's really your call, Dalvin. If you can deal with a bit longer recovery, go for it. But it's just know that it's not going to be it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be like it would have been in July. And yeah, putting down some headway is a great idea. What I would say to do is, if you are planning to do a scalp, do that first, right? Because here's the thing: if you're gonna, depending on how aggressively you're gonna go, when you lower the height of cut like far below your height, where you're currently set, it's not unlikely that you might pick up some of the headway or pick up some other stuff that you just freshly put down. So I would say, if you're going to do it, scalp first, and then put down any headway, fertilizer, anything else you're going to want to do, because the last thing you want to do is, buy an expensive bag of fungicide, apply it, and then get out there and, pick up not all of it, but pick up a percentage of it due to the scalping process. So if you're going to do it, I would do your scalp first and then do headway afterwards. Also be sure, if you certainly got some kind of disease problem going on, definitely clean up your mower. Make sure you rinse it off really well once you're done. And yeah, again, as long as you're good with a slightly longer recovery, you should be good to go. And Headway's a great product. It's got azoxystrobin and propiconazole in it, but for leaf spot, if memory serves me, all you really need is azoxystrobin, I believe. But yeah, that's going to get it done. All right, next up is Mike Harvey. Mike says, hey, Ron, thank you for looking at my pictures earlier. That color showed up out of nowhere. I have the pre-emergent cocktail from your video. Should I apply it now? I got POA early last year. I'm in upstate South Carolina. And he goes on to say, I want to be sure that I treat early so I don't have issues again this year. Well, I mean, it is a bit early for pre-emergent. It is a bit early. I mean, September timeframe is when the window really opens. But if you had problems with POA last year, Mike, again, I always say a little bit early is better than a little bit late when it comes to pre-emergent. So if you have situations, things going on in your lawn where historically you've gotten POA coming in a bit early, it's not a bad idea. It's almost like me, right? Like conventional wisdom would say, like for fungicides, right? If you're gonna do a preventative fungicide application, you would do that in like May, June timeframe. In my lawn, not this year, but the year prior, I had an issue with some large patch in my lawn in April. So what did I do? This year, in April, I applied my fungicide. I did a little bit earlier than what conventional wisdom would necessarily call for, but I've got a history that shows that would be a good idea for my lawn. Now, in your case where you've got, you got a history with POA, and you want to try the Prediamine, mazaquin, and simazine, that cocktail, I think it's a great idea. Just, what you might do, Mike, is you might go out, you might make sure you leave enough of the rate, enough of your annual allocation that if you had to do another application in, say, November or so, that you're still able to do that. So in other words, don't go out at full rate on Prediamine and go out at full rate on simazine and amazaquin. The rates that I give you don't get you to that, but just as a caution, like save some. So make sure you've got a little bit left on the table so that if you need to go out and apply again, say in November or so, just to keep the POA away until springtime, you've still got the headroom to be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, I'm down for that. I mean, another thing you can look at too is if you decide that you don't want to apply pre-emergent again in later on this year, a great option for controlling POA or for getting rid of POA that does emerge, a little bit that might come in, is to use Certainty. Like this is, as far as the product for sedges and for POA, this is my jam, especially for warm season grass. So there's a couple different strategies, a couple of different ways to go about doing this. It's really your call, but yeah, going out a little bit early with your pre-emergent is not a bad idea given the issues you've had in your lawn last year. So I hope that helps, sir. Again, you can always pick up some Certainty as well as a post-emergent, because this works really well on POA that does break through if you have any of that. So good stuff, man. Let me know what you end up doing. All right, next up is Andrew Phillips. Andrew is saying, at Dalvin Larry, my turf is thick too, but no fungus. We just got over 3 inches of rain in Texas. LOL. That's pretty awesome, right? Because I know for probably a couple of months here, the live stream, or at least from the Texas crowd, it was always, you guys in the East Coast suck. You guys are getting all the rain. We're not getting any. We're like turning into a desert. And now you guys are getting rain. See, I told you, just enough time. Just wait, patience. And now you're getting 3 inches, which in Texas is a lot. I'm surprised you're not having any flooding issues or anything like that, Andrew. I know that 3 inches of rain in Houston would definitely creates problems. So I'm not sure where in Texas exactly you are, but yeah, I'm glad to hear that you are finally getting some rainfall. I know you guys have been really joneses for some here, and it's glad that Mother Nature is finally smiling on you guys a little bit. All right, Lavendi's up next. He says, evening, Ron and community. What's going on, Lavendi? Thanks for coming to hang out, sir. Thanks for coming to hang out. And then we have someone new. I'm not sure your name, if I'm pronouncing it. It's Koi Guy. He says, happy Friday evening, everyone. Rain has gone now. Time to play with Bermuda. Cool. Yeah, so I guess you're going to get out there and do some work in the lawn, is what I'm hearing. Sounds good, Koi Guy. I'm down for that. As far as rain goes, we've been getting a lot of rain here in Georgia, which is, I mean, again, I'm trying to be sensitive because I know Texas, you guys are only now starting to get some, so I'm not trying to, gloat too much, but we're getting a lot of rain here in Georgia. At least once a week, we're getting a substantial amount. Like I'm trying to think if I've run irrigation. I'll tell you how much rain we're getting. I've run irrigation one time in the last, probably 6 weeks. I mean, it's been a while since I've really had to run irrigation regularly because of all the rainfall we're getting. So yeah, great stuff. We got a super chat here from Mr. LG. Thank you so much, LG. I really do appreciate it, sir. Setting the tone for this evening.
Super chat received.
He says, hey, Ron, congratulations on the growth in subscribers. Drinking whiskey tonight, so might not be able to speak English for that much longer. Stripe action forever. and you want some Tango Bolero, you know what? I got you. I'll put a little bit on for you, LG, while we go look for the next question. But yeah, thanks on that, LG. I'm really, really appreciative of all the growth in the channel. Definitely subscriber counts going up, views, all that. And so I'm having a great time, and I'm glad that the stuff that I'm putting out, you guys are finding valuable. Don't drink too much whiskey though, because I need you to hang out in the live stream. All right. Next up, we have Dalvin. This is good. He's here with another question. He says, question 2. Of course, he's only got more than one question, being Dalvin, right? Question 2. For your Celsius Certainty combo, is it possible to replace Celsius with quinclorac? The crabgrass isn't phased by Celsius, and I want to target the centipede. Sure, yeah, you can absolutely do that. So the big benefit to Celsius and the Celsius Certainty combination, and the reason why I really I like that so much, is because from a temperature standpoint, the range where you can spray it and not injure your lawn is a lot wider than other herbicides, post-emergent herbicides. But now that we're starting to cool off a little bit, and I got to get LG up here as a show sponsor. You're there, LG. Your name and lights for what it's worth. But now that the temperatures are starting to fall off, we're not like getting days in the 90s and hundreds like we were, a month and a half ago. Then yeah, absolutely. The thing is, the herbicides you use should fit the weeds you're trying to target. You know what I mean? So I get emails from people sometimes saying, "Hey, should I spray Celsius on my lawn?" And I'm like, depends. What kind of weeds are you trying to take care of? And they'll be like, "Well, I got nutsedge." I say, "Well, it's okay for that, but really Certainty's better." Or they'll say, "I got Dallas grass," and I'll say, "Don't waste your time. The best thing to do for Dallas grass is to dig it out if you have a residential lawn. There's not really a herbicide that is selective that you're supposed to spray on residential turf. So, I'll just save you a bunch of money and a bunch of time. And, well, not necessarily time. I'll save you money because it's going to take time to dig it out, right? I'll save you money by not, saying to go get something that's unlikely to really do much. I mean, Certainty will injure Dallas grass. Like it'll make it look like it got into a slight bar fight. But as far as actually killing it, your best bet in residential lawns is to remove it. So yeah, so I say all that to say, Dalvin, that if you are dealing primarily with crabgrass, then quinclorac is a great option. Now, if you're going to do say crabgrass and Certainty, I'm imagining that you also likely have some issues with sedges in your lawn, because that's where this time of year, that's where Certainty really shines. So if all you're dealing with is crabgrass, if you've already got, you got Certainty already, just set that aside. Don't spray that. I mean, there's no reason to mix that with quinclorac if all you're trying to target is crabgrass. But if you're trying to target crabgrass and you're trying to target sedges, then it makes sense. So make sure, like anything, kind of like when I tell you, the reason why I tell you guys all the time, right? Like I talk about soil testing, I'm like, hey, get a soil test kit and measure your, the nutrient levels in your soil. Why do I always say to do that? So that what you apply matches what your soil needs. The same thing when it comes to herbicides. When you are going to use a selective herbicide on your lawn, it needs to match the problem you're trying to solve. You know what I mean? So, I'm assuming it's sedges and crabgrass based on the question. If it's just crabgrass, then just use quinclorac and save your Celsius and Certainty for whenever you're dealing with broadleaves and POA in your lawn. So, hope that helps, sir. And yeah, great question. Thank you so much for all the support coming to hang out this evening. I appreciate it as always. Next up, we got Raider Nation, guys, and I've been waiting for this because Raider Nation sent me a picture, and not only did he send me a picture, but he said, you know what? He or she who mows most wins. And I got to show you guys this lawn. It's looking clean, man. I don't care who you are. Look at that color. I mean, now here's the thing you need to look at, right? You may look at the lawn and say, oh yeah, the color looks really nice. It's so what? It's a green lawn. But here's the thing: you have to look at what you're comparing it to. Look to the right of the picture, and you can see the neighbor's lawn, and you can see how much, how strong the domination line is and how much this lawn pops in contrast to the lawns around it. So Raider Nation's getting it done, man. He's getting it done. I dig it, sir. I really like how the lawn looks. Great work. Keep it up. Keep going. And yeah, definitely keep going, sir. I mean, you're doing a great job. The color on the lawn looks great. So whatever you're doing, definitely keep going. All right, next up, we got Gladiator 392. He says, where did you buy your stripe machine from? Are you asking about the mower, or like the mower that I use for cutting the grass? Are you talking about that? So it depends on which mower you're talking about, Gladiator 392. So there's a couple of different options. If you're looking for a true cut, you can find those locally. You can normally find those fairly locally. Check Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace. Check some of the if you get on some of the Facebook groups for lawn care that are related to like lawn enthusiasts, sometimes you'll find people in there that are selling, equipment they're not using anymore. So that's a good way to find a good machine. That's good for a true cut. If you're looking for like a Greensmaster, which is, if stripes are your thing, then a mower with a rear drum is going to produce better stripes than a mower that has just drive wheels and a front roller. So it really depends on what you're after. But same thing with a Greensmaster or a John Deere, or like my newest acquisition, which is an Owlet. Those you can all find. You can find them. You can find the Greensmaster and the John Deere, again, same thing, pre-owned. Find like a dealer that sells them or services them. Sometimes they'll take some in off of lease from golf courses that they'll sell. So if you're in the market for, say, like a Toro, like a Greensmaster, and you lived in the Atlanta area, then Jerry Pate companies where you could go. You could look them up. But again, also the same thing applies online, forums. There's people that buy mowers, sell mowers all the time. So there's a lot of different ways to be able to find equipment if that's what you're after. It just depends on which way, what you're trying to go, what your budget is, and what you're looking to achieve. You know what I mean? As far as which equipment that you go out with, you go for. So I mean, don't get me started on mowing, because I mean we can spend the first hour of the show talking about mowing and that stripe action. Look at this, even tonight. Thanks. This is a shirt I got as a gift from Josh Habib, who's a friend of the channel. This is actually a Greensmaster 1600 that he made this shirt for me. So I'm serious about my mowing. Literally, I always say it's one of the most important things you can do as far as your lawn care program, Gladiator. So if you are, if you're really serious about getting your lawn and getting a lawn that looks like Raider Nation's lawn, like a lawn looks like that. Granted, yes, a good fertilization program, of course. Making sure that you are using the proper, the proper fertilizer, the proper, you're keeping weeds out of your lawn with pre-emergent, like all that stuff matters. You get a good biostimulant program, all that matters. However, the thing that brings it all together and where people walk by and they say, is that real grass, or did he put AstroTurf down? Is the mowing. So great question. If you have any other questions or any follow-ups as far as like more details, drop a comment and I'll do my best to help you out. But yeah, that's giving you some food for thought as far as what you can start with, what you can go out with, and big thing I'd say is make sure that real mowing is for you, because it's all fine and good to look at a lawn, right, that looks beautifully striped and looks awesome, but it takes a lot of work to do that. It's a time commitment. You know what I mean? So if you're someone that the idea of mowing your lawn twice a week sounds like less fun than going to the dentist, like going to the dentist sounds more fun than that, then real mowing might not be for you. Because the big thing that really is going to set your lawn apart, especially if you have a real mower, is one, having the right equipment, making sure it's sharp, but then also using it at least twice a week. I always say twice per week mowing is the barrier for entry. That is a barrier for entry for a great looking lawn. So just something else to think about. If you have any other questions, definitely let me know in the comments down below. All right, next up is C. Mike CS. Mike, I don't know why I always have trouble with your name, but it's just something. It's the fact that you have the C in front. I'm just gonna start calling you Mike CS, and you're just gonna have to forgive me. All right, it says, I recently seeded Scott's Turf Builder perennial ryegrass in a small area at a little more than recommended rate. It's day 10 and the germination is scant at optimal conditions. Raked, uncovered. Why? Okay, so you put down the perennial ryegrass and you say it's day 10 the germination. So that's the thing with ryegrass, you should be getting germination already. I mean, it's still, this you're in the window for doing that. But here's the thing. I've never used like Scott's Turf Builder perennial ryegrass, and so I can't really comment on it because I've never actually even seeded a big portion of my lawn with ryegrass. I had like a little planter with ryegrass, but that's the extent of it. And I will tell you that if you look online, like say you look at like other YouTubers, like some of the cool season guys, when it comes to seeding their lawn or overseeding their lawn, I have yet to find any of them that use like the Scott's, they get their seed from Scott's. Not that to say it can't work, but they tend to go with like a Behrenbrug or some other premium seed. When I was trying out perennial ryegrass as a little experiment in a small pot, a small planter, like I got germination like in 5 days. Like I did Zoysia, I did Bermuda, and I did ryegrass. And in 5 days, the ryegrass was like, whoa, this is awesome. Seems kind of warm here, but I'm here. So if you're 10 days in, and assuming you did good prep, right? So here's the thing you have to think about too. If you put the ryegrass down in among like Bermuda or among other grass, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a challenge. You know what I mean? When I did it, I'm talking about this bare soil where there's plenty of sunlight, plenty of heat, and there wasn't a lot of competing grass, for the ryegrass to have to grow through. So that's something else you have to consider as well. Seed to soil contact is super important. Enough water is important. Like more than anything else, as far as what causes seeding projects to fail is insufficient water. Like people will go out their way, they'll go out and they'll buy some seed, they'll apply it, they'll maybe even rake it in, but then they'll water their lawn like the day they put the seed down, but they won't keep up with it. And really, until the seed germinates and is kind of getting its legs, you got to keep water on it. So for Bermuda, that's a 2 to 3 week affair of making sure you're watering a couple times a day. For ryegrass, I imagine it's similar, that you need to ensure that it just doesn't dry out within the first weeks of life. So yeah, I guess with everything I've laid out for you is number one, picking a quality seed. Number two, ensuring good seed to soil contact. So your prep work was where it should be. And then the third, are you watering? Were you watering enough? If you look at all those three, in other words, if your prep was good and you're watering enough, then maybe a better quality seed might be the ticket. You know what I mean? But normally it's one of those three things that tend to cause seeding projects to not go as well as expected. So hope that helps, sir. You know, if you have any other details as far that might help, add a bit more context to what we're talking about, feel free to drop it in there. But for the most part, that you should get pretty good results, because ryegrass is not a difficult grass seed to germinate. Like Zoysia, like it took like 3 weeks before I saw any of it come through. But ryegrass doesn't take isn't too difficult to get it to germinate. So, all right. So hope that helps. If you have any other questions, definitely let me know. All right. Next up is Grass Thief, who says, "Hey Ron, was wondering, with no rain for a few weeks now, but up against the clock for my last feeding for Tahoma, I got down 1¼ pound of N. That seems like a bit much of N. Should I put it down? Should I put it down and water in? Also, I'm missing the rest of your question, Ted. It didn't pop through. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to just take the first part. All right. So, 1.25 pounds of nitrogen in one setting is a bit. For me, that's a bit high. Like I don't go above a pound of nitrogen in a single feeding. I mean, if what you're applying is slow release to where it's not going, I should qualify that, because the stuff that you're putting down is going to release over a couple of months, then not so bad. But if it's quick release nitrogen, something that's going to, you're going to apply it and really within 4 to 6 weeks, it's going to, like, that 1.25 pound nitrogen is going to become available. That's a bit much, in my opinion. And yes, as far as should you water it in after application, yes, you should. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just because there's no rain, you haven't gotten any rain for a couple of weeks. This doesn't mean you're not going to get any at some point. What I would do is back that rate down. I'm not sure if Grassy. I'm not sure if you're the one that was in Cumming, Georgia, or because I have a couple of viewers, one that's in Oklahoma and one that's in about 20 miles from here, that has Tahoma. I would not go, if you've not done it yet, I would not apply 1¼ pound of nitrogen, assuming it's going to be a fast release, quick release nitrogen in a single setting. For me, it's a bit strong. I would sit more to the 0.75, 0.8 area, like somewhere in that range. That's still going to produce great color. It's plenty of food for the grass, and you're not going to potentially introduce problems by putting too much down. But yeah, if you're in Oklahoma, you still got time, and if you're in Georgia, you're probably not in Georgia because you would have gotten rain. So you're probably the viewer that's in Oklahoma. You still got time. So yeah, I would apply it if the grass is still actively growing, you still should feed it, but don't go out at a really at a super heavy rate in excess of really what Bermuda needs during the time when it's actively growing. That's the only thing I saw there that I'd be like, I would not do that. So hope that helps, and I'll look for the rest of your comment. I'm not sure if you got anything else that you were going to add. It looks like you did, but I didn't see it pop through here. So, all right, next up is Ted Patterson. Ted says, "Hey Ron, thanks for the quick shipping on the Prediamine 65 WDG water dispersable granule. Got it down yesterday and had a perfect light rain overnight. Looking forward to no POA this year." Yeah, man, sounds good, Ted. I'm glad that it got to you. We do try to ship products as quickly as possible, because I know once you guys hit order now, like you start checking the mailbox, right? So I'm glad that it made it in. And yeah, hopefully it does the trick. It depends. Some people are able to use Prediamine and they get a good result as far as no POA until February-ish or early springtime. what I find is you tend to you tend to get a little bit of breakthrough if you only use Prediamine by itself. But it depends. If you've used it in the past and you've gotten great results and it's never been a problem, you've never, in other words, Prediamine alone was enough to keep your lawn POA free, then keep doing that. If it's working for you, keep doing it. But in most cases, I find that by the end of the year, early next year, so like especially if you're my neighbor where we don't really get super cold winters, by late January, early February-ish time frame, you're going to start seeing it start to break through. And if that happens, you can always just use something like Certainty to get rid of it. So that would be my recommendation. Using Image. Image is a good product. It's just very slow to work. If you have POA actively in your lawn, using like a post-emergent like Certainty is going to be a better bet, in my opinion. So good job, sir. Glad you got it down. Hopefully, you wore your PPE and got down at the good rates and got some water to put it in, which is always great, right? Can't beat free water. Guys, so we are 25 minutes into the live stream. We've only got 31 likes. What's up with that? So for the 93 of you or so that are here in the show right now, if you guys wouldn't mind touching that like button for me, it doesn't cost anything. I mean, I ain't too proud to beg. It's a great way to support the channel. It doesn't cost you guys anything, and it sends good vibes to YouTube so that more people can come over here and talk about turf grass with us, right? So if you guys wouldn't mind doing that, I would really, really, really appreciate it. All right, next is Grassy. He's back. He says, I'm looking to apply my fungicide app. How many days should I wait in between fungicide application and Prediamine? I mean, you could do them on the same day if you wanted to. I mean, there's not really, they're two completely different products. You know what I mean? So if you're going to do them on the same day, for example, let's say I were going to do a fungicide application and Prediamine, I would do the fungicide first and then do Prediamine afterwards. So I'm answering this as assuming that the fungicide application is going to be a granular, and the Prediamine you do putting it in liquid form. So I would do fungicide first, Prediamine, and then the Prediamine afterwards. And then when you water it in, you water both of them in, right? You water in the fungicide and you water in the Prediamine. But it's not like you have to, you don't have to necessarily like stagger them. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example here. It's not like if you were going to use, like, say, a post-emergent herbicide, right? So say if you were going to use, say, Celsius, and you were going to do like a second app. Let's say you're treating something like Virginia buttonweed, right? It's like if you told me, can I do an app today and then another app tomorrow? I'd say, no, that's too soon. You do one now, and then maybe you stagger it out 3 weeks later. That, for things like that, where you're dealing with products that are similar in nature, that their goals are similar, that is where spacing them out begins to make more sense. But for a fungicide and then a Prediamine, there's no need to do that unless you really want to. Guys, on the topic of Virginia buttonweed, one of the questions we had last week, and thanks for the question, Grass Thief. One of the questions we got last week was from, let me see if I can find it here. I think it was from Nicholas Jasmine. He says, this is a question from last week that I had to research. He says, what about a pre-emergent for Virginia buttonweed and for nutsedge? I have Zoysia and a Bermuda lawn. So I did some research between last week's live stream and this week's live stream. Nutsedge, I was pretty certain there wasn't a pre-emergent that was really effective against it. And then Virginia buttonweed, like, there are some articles that say that that spectacle in certain situations can have some effect, but really it's not conclusive that there's really a pre-emergent that's going to effectively work against Virginia buttonweed. Kind of like how Prediamine is very, very good against crabgrass. It's in most cases you apply that, you're not going to have a bunch of crabgrass on your lawn. There's not really a pre-emergent that is that way for Virginia buttonweed, and I haven't been able to find any that are that are there for nutsedge. So both of those weeds are really ones that you're going to want to treat after the fact. So if you had, so a good example, so you have Virginia buttonweed, that is where Celsius really becomes a great option, right? If you have Virginia buttonweed in your lawn, apply Celsius at the higher rate. Actually, I'll pull the label up here and I'll show you. Virginia buttonweed is such a stubborn one that it actually gets an honorable mention on the Celsius label. I've got it right here. So if you take a look, it says for difficult to control weeds like Virginia buttonweed or dollar spot, make a second application, right? So it shows that even for something like that, like for as good as of a herbicide that Celsius is, when it comes to something like Virginia buttonweed, you're gonna need more than one application, and it's called out here at the higher at a higher rate. So it's gonna take more than one app to get rid of it. When it comes to nutsedge, Celsius, not the best product. The best product for that is going to be Certainty in warm season grass. So if you have Virginia buttonweed, Celsius. If you have Nutsedge, Certainty. So you got two options: Virginia buttonweed, Nutsedge. So there's again, from my research, I'm happy to be proven wrong. And if someone has some some knowledge about that, feel free to let me know. But from what I've been able to find on Nicholas, I told you I promised to get you an answer on the live stream this week, is that there's not really a pre-emergent for either of those. If you're dealing with that, unfortunately, you're just going to be smacking the button weed with Celsius a couple of times to get rid of it, and then Nutsedge, it's just going to be Certainty. Every year, I deal with Nutsedge in my lawn, and it's always in similar spots. There's the area in the swale where water drains, and then another area that gets really wet that's near my neighbor. That's like the house that's behind me. Right, those two areas is where I deal with Nutsedge. But then a single app of Certainty, and that knocks it out, and I'm good to go. So it's just one of those things that you're just gonna have to deal with, unfortunately, Nicholas. So good stuff, good stuff. Thanks for the question, and I told you I'd answer it. So that one is answered. We have another question that we got to cover too, but I'll wait for a little while to get that one. Let's see who's up next here in the live stream. Mike CS is saying, I keep forgetting that part. All right, next up is Omar Ahmad. He says, hi, everyone from the New England. What's going on, Omar? Thanks for coming to hang out, sir. Appreciate you. You know, I got to tell you, in Atlanta, we're still not over what happened with the Patriots. You know, I keep saying it's probably gonna be a trivia question forever. Like I don't know that, what was it, 28-3? I don't know that again, records are meant to be broken, but in our lifetime, it's probably unlikely that you're going to have a team that's going to be up 28-3 going into the third quarter, going at halftime, and then still manage to lose the Super Bowl. So I know you may or may not be a Patriots fan, but yeah, every time I see someone from New England, I just think, those are the people that that showed us that hope is not until it's over, it's not really over in when it comes to football. All right, next up is Andrew Phillips. He says, hey, Ron, my height of cut is 0.75 inches. I have an Owlet Kensington 20H, and I want to know what height of cut to get good stripes. Not really seeing them all summer. Okay, so Andrew, 0.75 is a good height. I mean, that's what my lawn is at now, and that will produce good stripes. So here's a couple of things that contribute to good stripes in your lawn. One, mowing a little bit taller, which 0.75 is tall enough for good stripes. And then also the weight of the mower also weighs in too. If you want to really exaggerate the stripes and really help to promote them, especially if you have a way that you want them to be presented, like if you have an angle where the lawn looks best from the street and you want your stripes to really, or the dominant stripes anyway, to show from that angle, what I found is getting it, turf raking the lawn in that pattern and then mowing it in that pattern is going to help. So I'm not saying that mow the lawn the same way every single time, but so you still need to vary your mowing pattern. But for one of the patterns, so like say the one that you want to be the dominant stripes, like that one, mow over the same way each time. So a good example, let me try and make sure I'm explaining this right. So let's say, actually I can probably just show you my lawn, and that might be a great way. Can I do that? Yeah. So if you look at these stripes in my lawn that are fairly prominent, right? So pause it right there. So the lawn still gets mowed lengthwise, and it gets mowed in multiple directions, even though the stripes that you really see are these, because these stripes, whenever I'm making this pass, I make sure I make the same pass the same way each time, just in this direction. All right. So whenever I am mowing lengthwise, I don't really try and line the stripes up each time. Whenever I mow diagonally, I don't really try and line the stripes up that way each time. But when I mow away from the house and to the house, that way I make sure I hit the same pattern each time. So doing that, and then also turf raking, so in other words, you're also combing the grass and helping it to lay in that direction, is going to help promote better stripes. So the Kensington 20H is completely capable of producing amazing stripes. You just need to really think about your strategy. So I would say is pick a direction where you're saying, this is the presentation. This is whenever someone sees my lawn and I want them to be like, ooh, that looks awesome. Like pick those stripes that you want to be the dominant ones, like your vanity stripes, right? And that pattern, burn that pattern in, but still mow in multiple directions so you don't get graining issues and so that you don't get create like washboarding problems and things like that. So hope that helps. But if you try that, I think you're going to see an improvement in your stripe action. So that's something that I've done this year. ever since getting the Allet. And again, the stripes speak for themselves. But you want to still make sure you vary your mowing pattern. Otherwise, you're going to create problems. So hope that helps. 0.75 is a great height of cut to go with. If you want to go up a little bit taller, you can. But that is, in my opinion, the Goldilocks height, where you're balancing like that golf course lawn appearance with good stripes. Because if you go down to say 0.5, let's say you go to half an inch, right, which is where I was last year, the lawn is still going to stripe, but it's not going to look not nearly as good, not nearly the color that you're going to get at just a quarter of an inch. Just a slightly higher height of cut is going to make a big difference, because you've got more grass to lay down. You know what I mean? That's what produces your stripe. It's laying the grass down in a specific direction is what produces those light and dark stripes. So the longer the grass, the better it's going to stripe. But again, we want that golf course lawn look, so we don't want it too long. So 0.75 is good. But try those other tips I was telling you about. That should help improve your stripe action. I'm all about the stripe action. All about the stripe action, baby. All right. Next up is Patrick in Texas. He says, still getting left side scalping with my Allet. Not sure what to do. It's sharp, cutting paper, and it's level. Okay, so the left side of your mower is scalping more than the right side. So are you saying that, so question for you, Patrick. Let's try this. So if you, is it a pattern to where you're absolutely certain, like if you make like a bunch of different passes, always the lines that are going, I'll use as an example. Let's go back to this example, because it's easier to show in a picture than, nope, wrong one. That was last week. Wrong picture. All right. So is what you're saying that if we use this as an example, so let's say that your lawn is like this. Are you saying the left side, so all the light stripes, right, which are the ones that are facing away from us, if you were to look at all the stripes on the left side, say your mower were wide enough to create a stripe that wide, right? The left side of all your cuts is scalping. If that's the case, there's something going on with how your reel to bed knife is set up. It's either it's got to be like canted or slightly tilted is what I'm guessing. So if you don't have the ability to adjust the left and right independently, then I might reach out, call up Allet USA, call up Roland and talk to him about it, and see if there's any tips he can get you on making sure that it's correct. A way to check that is if you have, I can't show you, I can show you here. If you have, well, I can't show you there because it's not in the shot, but if you have an AccuGauge, like you have a way to actually measure the height of cut, or a bar can work. If you get like a straight bar and a very precision ruler, and just measure the distance from the bed knife and the front roller, the difference, like how low the bed knife is set on one side, and then go to the other side and measure it, it should be the same. Should be the same. If it's different, then that's producing your problem. If it happens to be the same, and that's happening, the only scenario I've ever seen where that would be a case where the mower set up properly, both sides are of the bed knife, and in other words, the it's not tilted in any kind of way, right? So you're not like cutting one side lower than the other, is whenever I mow an area that's not even. So if I mow the swale area of my lawn, right? You guys know my lawn. So if I mow an area that's like a half pipe, and I mow that lengthwise. So let's say, what do I have to use as an example here? Let's say that like this is a curved section of my lawn, right? I'm trying to use this as an example, not a great example. If I mow it like this, to where I'm going up and then down, it's not going to scalp. It's gonna produce a pretty good cut. However, if this, again, my hand's on a great curve, but just work with me here. If I mow it this way, like I mow lengthwise into the curve, what you're gonna find is the middle of where the mower is running is not gonna be cut as low as both the upper portion and the lower portion. So you what you normally get scalping is on the lower side, the left side, kind of like what you're talking about. But it depends obviously which way you're going. The lower side tends to produce more of this more prone to scalping. So if this is happening on an area of the lawn that is curved, don't mow it lengthwise. Mow it like almost like you're a skateboarder. Like mow it up the half pipe and then down the half pipe, because then the mower is staying flat. It's staying the reel and bed knife, the front roller, in general, the mower is staying flat on the surface, even though you're mowing like a curve. You're not mowing the curve lengthwise. Does that make sense? So those are things to check. Check to make sure, if you can, measure the distance on both sides of the mower. And then if that's correct, if that's good, then I'd say then the only thing I can think of is that the area you're mowing isn't even, and then let's just try changing your mowing pattern. That should fix it, because there's nothing else I can really think of that should be causing that kind of a problem. Also, make sure your equipment's sharp. Make sure the mower is good and sharp. You said it's cutting paper. Yep, it's sharp as cutting paper and it's level. So I'd say let's vary your mowing pattern. You know what I mean? Let's try mowing the area where that's happening differently. So it tends to be curved or sloped areas where I see that, and by again varying your mowing pattern slightly tends to address that. So hopefully that helps. You didn't tell me what part of your lawn is happening, but again, I know you're in the academy, so if you can, like, drop a picture in the Facebook group, and I'll take a look at it here after the show and give you my thoughts on what's happening. You can show me the area. We should be able to figure out what's going on. All right, next up is Brian Sullivan, who is in Michigan. He says, I'm in Michigan, and I'm ready to overseed, but I'm unsure which seed. Well, it depends. What kind of grass do you currently have? What kind of grass do you want to have? And that's going to be a big part of it. When it comes to cool season grass seed, Brian, I am not an expert on that. That if someone tells you what kind of grass seed to buy for a cool season lawn, I'm going to tell you go buy Behrenbrug, because the friends of mine that I have that work that have cool season lawns, some of them in the Pacific Northwest and other parts of the country, they really like that grass seed. If you look at the reviews on it, it's very well reviewed. Now, whether or not you're going to go with a rye or a Kentucky bluegrass, I will tell you that the rye is going to be easier to grow. It's going to germinate faster than the KBG. KBG is a lot like Bermuda or Zoysia, in that it's going to really be 2 to 3 weeks before you really get any meaningful germination. Whereas ryegrass, with good prep, within a week you should start seeing it pop up. So it really depends. One, what kind of grass do you have now? What kind of grass do you want? And and then based on that, you can choose between the most common ones. You also got fescue as well too. I've never grown fescue from seed, so I don't know what the germination from that is like. But the most common seeds that people tend to use whenever they are overseeding a cool season lawn is either ryegrass or Kentucky bluegrass. And really between those two, the rye is going to germinate quite a bit faster than the KBG. So hope that helps, sir. Look into Behrenbrug. It's spelled like how it sounds, Barenbrug. I believe that's correct. Look into that grass seed. They offer like KBG, rye, and other cool season grass seed types. Look into that, and I think that should work well once you decide on what kind of grass seed you want to go with. So thanks for the question, sir. Hopefully it was useful. And if you need anything else, drop another comment down there, and we will definitely revisit it. Next up, Andrew Phillips is chiming in. He says, Patrick, I get that too, especially, see, I almost read my mind, especially in a yard that has a slant. I think it's the weight. So if I mow, perfect example, like I have a couple of videos, probably at least 3 that I can think about, on mowing a slope. And what I have found is if we break out the soil test kit, we use this as our slope, right? So say this is your slope. If you mow, I'll make it where you guys can see it. If you mow the slope, like the slope towards you guys, if you mow the slope this way, you're going to get scalping, because the lower side of the mower is going to cut lower, or say the side of the mower that is on the lower portion of the slope is really bearing more of the weight just slightly. So it's going to produce an uneven cut if you mow like crosswise. If you mow up and down, when you are going uphill, the mower is assuming you can keep the mower, flat and even against the surface, is going to cut a little bit lower than when you're going downhill. What I find on a slope works best, and what I do on my lawn, is I will mow diagonally. That's like the best of both worlds when it comes to mowing a slope and getting a good quality cut. What you can do is, if you want to mow lengthwise for your first pass, you can do that, but then do a cleanup cut where you're basically double cutting it, where you'll do your second cut like diagonally, because that's really, you're splitting the difference as far as making sure that the weight of the mower is as evenly distributed on the slope versus going across or going uphill. And I've got a video, Patrick, that I can share with you here. If you just get on my YouTube channel, you just search for slope, like mowing a slope. Actually, I've got a video that's got nothing of, it's not even me talking, so I know you guys don't always want to hear me talk. I've got a video here that shows just that. It's like 19 minutes, or how long is this? No, I'm sorry. It's like 7 minutes of doing nothing but just mowing a sloped lawn. So you can actually see the technique. You don't have to listen to me jibber jabber at all. You can just watch that, and that will set you on your way. So that video there on mowing a slope will show you me doing it with a Greensmaster. If you go to YouTube and type like Ron Henry slope, there's going to be a video showing how to do my technique on using a Greensmaster and also using a True Cut. It's still the same thing. Just mow it diagonally for best results. But I think that's probably what's producing your problem, Patrick. Assuming that everything else is correct. The mower set up properly, it's sharp. It's probably your mowing pattern is what I am leaning towards. All right, next up is Mike Harvey. He says, is army worm season over? Not quite. If we've not gotten any this year, you think we are safe. Does Acelepryn kill them or only prevent them? Both. It does both. It both kills and prevents. So if you're trying to prevent them, you can use a heavier rate. When I say heavier, it's really the rate that covers more insects. Is the 0.20 ounces with a gallon of water over 1,000 square feet. If all you have is armyworms, so you have an active armyworm infestation, you can back the rate down to, I think it's just over 0.05 ounces. So the rate for an active armyworm infestation is quite a bit lower. But if you're trying to prevent, then the 0.20 rate is what I would go with. That's what I did last year and also did this year on my lawn and Alex's lawn. And when other lawns in the neighborhood were getting eaten up by armyworms, our lawns were absolutely fine. So we got our application down last year in late March, and this year was the same thing. It was like late March, early April. So if you did that, you should be good to go. And worst case, if you do see them, get out there and get it done early. Armyworms is not one of those things. Like, I'm trying to think. I would actually rate armyworms worse than grubs, because with grubs, you're gonna notice parts of your lawn that are struggling more. It's gonna start looking ugly. But like grubs don't destroy an entire lawn within a day or two. Like armyworms literally can do that. So if you have any inclination, and it's going to be pretty easy to know if you have armyworms, because you can actually see them on the surface, get an insecticide. I like Acelepryn, but bifenthrin, there's a bunch of different insecticides that will kill them. They're not that hard to get rid of once you actually see them, but normally by the time you notice them, there's a lot of damage that's already been done, right? So to answer your question, Mike, if you don't have any now, you're probably going to be okay. Especially if you've gotten a Acelepryn application down earlier, in the season, you're probably just fine. But yeah, it does both. It does both. It will kill existing ones, and it will also help prevent them. So good stuff. All right, next up is Tom V. Tom V. He says, "Yo, Ron, have you found the T-Nex rates to be accurate? I found I must use a half rate on my Kentucky bluegrass in Illinois to prevent any burn more than the tip burn." So you're saying not just like a little bit of slight yellowing. We're talking about like some major discoloration here. It says half is about 8.9 milliliters per gallon, 1,000 square feet. Yeah, so I have found, as far as the rates being accurate, yeah, when I was using T-Nex before I switched to Primo, the rates were accurate. Like, in other words, if you applied it at the recommended rates for a monthly application, you did get the regulation. You got a bit of tip burn. And for me, on a warm season lawn like Bermuda, that was really, a 3-day affair. So I would apply it on Monday. By Wednesday, Thursday, I would notice it. I would mow, and then once I mowed, it was good to go, and you didn't have to worry about it anymore. So what I'm a fan of doing, Tom, something I started doing this year, is what you've kind of discovered on your own, right? Instead of applying Primo at the full rate, so instead of applying at the full rate for your particular grass type, I'm not sure if for KBG, if it's like 0.6 ounces. One of them is 0.60 ounces. Another one is it's heavier, but I'm not sure off the top of my head what it is for Kentucky bluegrass. But at any rate, if you're fine with getting out there a couple of times per month, take the rate that's correct for your grass type, apply half of that at the beginning of the month, and then at the 15th, apply the other half. So take the full rate and just split it in half, 1st and 15th, and that's going to do a lot to really help prevent any kind of tip burn. You're going to get the same regulation. It's still going to work great, but you're not going to get any yellowing. Like this year, I got like no yellowing in my lawn, Alex's lawn, and then even our project lawn here, the neighbor that had the fungus issue earlier in the season. We, and that's a lawn that really has not had all the babying that Alex's lawn and my lawn has had. The very first application of Primo on it, it was just fine, because that half rate app is what I used on it. So I think what you are, to say that the rates are not accurate is not true. The rates are accurate, but depending on the type of KBG you have, not all grass tolerates it as well, or not all grass of the same cultivar tolerate it as well. Depending on the flavor of KBG you have, it may want a little bit lighter rate of T-Nex. But what you will find, and this is not just me, other viewers that have been trying this year have had the same results by applying at half rate. Assuming you apply it at half rate that's correct for your grass type, a lot of the problems you have with tip burn and yellowing go away, and you still get all the benefits. So yeah, I mean, if that's working for you, I would just keep doing that. Keep doing the half rate applications. And again, the only negative to doing that really is you got to get out there and spray it twice a month instead of once per month. But you get no yellowing on your lawn, right? Which is good stuff. So hope that helps. Yeah, the rates are fine. It's just, all lawns are different, all grass types are different, and depending if you went a little bit heavy, just a little bit, it doesn't take much. Because remember, with T-Nex, do I have any? I don't have a bottle here. I think I took it outside in the garage. I've got a bottle here that I used for this has got spectacle in it, but I can use this for an example. But with T-Nex for warm season grass or for primo, 0.25 ounces. This is not primo, it's got spectacle in it, but 0.25 ounces is only like right there, right in there between halfway between 0.3 and 0.2. If you just went a bit heavier than that, you went up to like 0.4 over, on your lawn, that's enough to cause yellowing. So that's why this stuff, you really need to measure it properly. You need to make sure you're using a well-calibrated backpack sprayer, you know what I mean? And that your walking pace is correct so that you're actually putting down the product at the correct rate. And, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, just saying the same thing over and over, but the way to prevent yellowing, buy yourself more headroom to where if you do spray one area a little bit heavier to not have an issue is to do what you're doing, which is split apps. So hope that helps, or keep doing it. And if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. We got LG in the house. Says, hey, yeah, at Ron Henry. What's going on, LG? Thanks again for the super chat, sir. I appreciate it. The support is much, much appreciated. We got Ben Raham saying P. Okay, Ben, I'll take it. And it says, so Mike CS is here. He says, Ron, what is your opinion on Owlet's Aerator and Thatcher cartridges? They are so similar. Are they? So they have... Are you talking about their turf rake and Thatcher? Because I have their... This depends what you're talking about, because there's a Thatcher and there's the turf rake, and their aerator, at least on my mower, they call a sorrel roller, which is like a mower that looks like a medieval like weapon, right? Or like it's got like a roll with like spikes all on it, right? So they look all fairly different to me. If you're talking about the difference between a Thatcher and the turf rake, they shouldn't look similar, because the Thatcher has, like, I can just show you. The Thatcher has like little fingers, like little spring-loaded fingers that are good for removing dead grass, debris, like that kind of thing. And the turf rake has the little spring-loaded fingers, whereas the Thatcher tends to be a solid blade that's kind of got like a little hook on the end of it. So of the two, dethatching is a lot more aggressive, like several times more aggressive than turf raking. Let's see here, alletusa.com, and we will go to shop and cartridges. Yeah, so let me see if I can just show you here. Yeah, here we go. We can do it this way. All right, so this is the turf rake, right? So you'll either see this called a turf rake or a power rake. This is what you can use regularly on your lawn. Literally, if you had the time, you could do it before every mow if you wanted to. And if it's set properly, you're not going to introduce a lot of injury into the lawn. This is like something you can do pretty much all the time whenever you got the time to do it. Now, the Thatcher, where is it? Yeah. So this is their Thatcher or their Scarifier. Where is it? I'm trying to find one. Yeah, I mean, this Thatcher or Scarifier, like this guy, is much more aggressive. So they call it a Scarifier, but this is also what I think about when I think about a Thatcher. If you look at that, see, they're solid blades and they are slightly curved. So whenever they go into the turf, into the sward, they're biting and pulling material out. So this is a lot more aggressive because this doesn't have any kind of give, whereas the turf rake or Scarifier does have a bit of give. The turf rake has a bit of give to it, right? So they're calling it a Thatcher, but or Scarifier, but this is really more what I think about when I think about a Thatcher. So they're very, very different. And then their aeration cartridge, which is the sorrel roller, this guy here, if you look at it, that looks nothing like the other. So they're very different. In the order of aggressiveness, I would say that the sorrel roller and the turf rake are very similar. Like whenever you use the sorrel roller on your lawn, it just punches like tiny little holes. You can't even really see them. So because this isn't pulling cores out. This guy isn't removing cores like how a hollow tine core area would do. You see they're actually solid tines. They're just punching holes in. So this and the turf rake are probably around the same scale as far as aggressiveness. Whereas what they're calling their Scarifier or Thatcher, this is a lot more aggressive. So you can just look at them and see the difference. They're a lot more aggressive. So they are different altogether. What they are used for is very different. If I were buying a cartridge, Mike CS, if I would, we're gonna pick the priority, how I would do it. Obviously, get a cutting reel. You want that, but then I would get the turf rake next, and then if you have a creeping grass like Bermuda, then the verticutter. So I would do the turf rake first, and then the verticutter as your second, your second optional cartridge. After doing that, that's when the sorrel roller is what I would look for next, because really that helps with improved drainage. If you're going to fertilize, it helps fast track getting the nutrients down in the soil. The Thatcher is the one that would be the last one I would get, because really, if you are managing like the thatch levels in your lawn, which you're able to do with the turf rake and verticutting and catching your clippings, dethatching is not something you should have to do very often. Like, I mean, it's a very aggressive treatment to the lawn. And really once per season, at the beginning of the season, if you're going to do it, is when you would dethatch. Whereas the other ones, the turf rake, the verticutter, and the sorrel roller, the turf rake you could do again every time you mowed if you had time. And the sorrel roller and verticutter, you could do those monthly if you wanted to. You know what I mean? So as far as just use case, you're going to get a lot more use for your money out of the other ones. The Thatcher, or the what they're calling the Scarifier, the solid blade one that has a hook on the end, would be the last cartridge I would buy of the ones that we've discussed. So hope that helps. Hope that helps clear things up. They do look very different to me, and their purposes are all very different in a lawn care program. In my opinion, the Thatcher having the least amount of utility on a regular basis. If you have a good example, so the case for a Thatcher might be, take a lawn that's got a lot of thatch buildup, it's been neglected for a long time, and like say a lawn that's not mowed regularly, or they mow it once every few weeks, and they do that for several years, you're probably going to have a thatch problem in a lawn like that. That is where the Thatcher coming in and getting really aggressive and cleaning out that debris to get you ahead of the game makes a lot of sense. But on my lawn, like I can't think of a scenario where I would use a Thatcher on my lawn, because I just don't have that much thatch in it. You know what I mean? That's more a case where you're trying to get a lawn under control, one that's been neglected for a while, and then once you have it under control, that is where your turf rake and the verticutter, that's going to do a lot to really maintain the lawn and keep it in great shape. All right. Hope that helps, sir. If you need anything else, let me know. And next we got Brian. He's back from Michigan. He says, I'm in Michigan, ready to overseed after thatching, aerating, and leveling with compost. My question is, which seed should I use? I think we already covered this one, Brian, but now you're giving some more context as far as the kind of grass you have. You have tall fescue in most areas. So again, Behrenbrug, I'm pretty sure, is going to have you covered on that. Let us see here. Behrenbrug. Do they carry fescue? I'm almost positive they do. Let's see here. They do carry grass seed. I imagine they would have a fescue. I would think so. Let's see. Home lawn. View the products. Here we go. We've got, yep, here we go. All right, cool. So if we come over to their website here, Brian, Behrenbrug USA, they've got a couple of blends. They got the Schultz Tall Fescue. You got the Schultz Sun and Shade. You got the Quick Lawn. But they have a couple of different fescue blends. Again, I have not used any of these. I don't have a cool season grass. But you've got your KBG for high traffic. You got a bunch of different options here. I'm going to put this link in the chat for you. So this is where you can start, where you can look. Again, if anyone is in the live stream that has cool season grass, has fescue, and you guys have another seed that you guys like, feel free to let Brian know what your seed of choice is. But this link should help you out, Brian, as far as setting you on the path for a quality grass seed that should work well in your lawn. So hope that helps, sir. Again, given that you have tall fescue, they've got a couple of different options there. Let's take that first one looks pretty good. The waterless option, hardy. This one, you check this out. It's pretty cool. It says less water, hardy, drought tolerant lawn, superior disease resistance, and germinates in 5 to 7 days. All sound like good things to me. So give that a look and let me know what you end up going with. Next up is Tom V. He's back. He says, I put down a granular Yard Mastery 2406. So that is the flagship, if I'm not mistaken, last weekend, and it really added some dark green color to my KBG turf. Love to hear that. So far, I have seen more dramatic color improvement from using Humic Max and Yard Mastery than spoon. I guess you're saying probably than spoon feeding. It could be, Tom. But I mean, Humic Max. When I used, we still had it. I would do Humic Max along with a liquid to help maintain the color throughout the month. So there are people that just use strictly a liquid program. Like if you just go, that can work. But I like to use a granular to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So again, I was putting down all in around an 8.8 pounds of nitrogen per month on my lawn. Most of that is coming from granular. And then the spoon feeding from the liquid is just to help fill in. If you are doing just liquids, you're going to have to go up on the rates, because the rates that I quote or recommend for for the 901C or for Turfplex, that's like 1/10 of a pound of nitrogen in each application. And if that's what you're doing, you're absolutely right. That's not going to be enough to really produce nice color and good, just nice, good stand of turf. You're gonna have to go up on the rates if all you're doing is liquids. But if you're doing a blend where you're doing, again, in your case, the 2406, and you're also adding a liquid on top of that, that's going to produce a really, really good, nice color in the lawn. But to your point, liquids alone, if you're applying them at very low rates, unless you're doing very low rates like really often, like every week you're spraying, that's typically not going to be enough to have great color throughout the entire month. So hope that helped. I'm glad to hear that you're getting good results with the 2406. It is a great product. And again, if you're going to spoon feed, make sure you back the rate down from 3 pounds per thousand to 2 pounds per thousand. Makes the bag of fertilizer last longer, and that gives you some headroom to still spray liquids on top of that if you decide you're going to do that. Or you can do what you're doing, which is just using just the granular. That works too. Whatever is producing a good result. If you like the results you're getting, if you like it, I love it. All right, next up is Jim Ruman. He says, is it too late to do a hide-to-cut reset? If not, what should I put down to help push growth? I'm in Marietta, Georgia. So here's the thing, Jim. If the temperatures that we have now hold out to where for the next 8 weeks we still have temps in the 80s, no, it's not too late to do a reset. But if we have, by the end of September, we get we get a cold snap and begins really cooling off and it stays cool, then the lawn's going to take a lot longer to recover. So if you decide you want to do it, know that it's going to be several weeks before the lawn really comes back and has a nice color. So if you were to go out and scalp today, I would plan for the second week of September before the lawn is really looking good again. If you're fine with that, then yeah, go for it. If you're not fine with that, then don't do it. But it sounds like you're probably having some cutting issues due to not doing a hide-to-cut reset because the lawn's probably gotten a little bit thick. So, you can take the, as BYD likes to call it, you can take the green hit to your lawn and just know that it's going to take a little while for it to recover. As far as what you can put down to apply it, to help it bounce back, if you can time it, like we're at the end of the month now. So if you want to get your granular fertilizer application down after you do the scalp, that would make sense. So a couple of options for that, assuming you don't already have a fertilizer that you like, is either one of these. I'll show you here. So if you go to the golf course lawn store, go to shop and then lawn fertilizer. Probably your best bet is going to be Flagship. This has got this is a relatively quick release fertilizer. It's a 2406. So if you apply that after your scalp, that is going to help the lawn recover a bit sooner. It's going to help it bounce back. So what I might do is do your scalp and then apply Flagship at the bag rate, which is 3 pounds per thousand, which is going to be 0.8 pounds of nitrogen. That's going to be plenty. And again, just keep mowing it, keep doing your thing, keep it with your program, and then within a couple of weeks, you should start seeing the color return. The lawn is going to look really nice. So, not too late at all. Just realize that we're not in summertime, so it's not like it's going to be you're going to scalp it and then a week later it's going to be looking good again. It's just going to be the process is going to be a little bit slower. So it's really up to you what you can tolerate as far as ugliness in the lawn. And if you can, just know it's going to, then by all means go for it. But if you're going to do it, kind of like what I said about top dressing in late July, early August, we were talking about top dressing still. If you're going to do it, you got to get it done. Like now's the time. If you're going to do your how-to-cut reset, like it needs to get done like this weekend. Get it done, get your fertilizer down, and just water it in and just get on with your mowing. So if you're going to do it, don't delay. Just, you have to get on with it. Hope that helps, sir, because Marietta, you're not too far from me. And for all intents and purposes, our weather, for the most part, is the same. If I'm getting rain, you're probably going to be getting rain. At least from a temperature standpoint, anyway. We're similar. Rain, maybe not, but we're going to temp-wise, we should be very similar. All right, next up is Jeffrey 5 She says, "Hi Ron, I have Tifway 419. How do I get stripes when cutting with a reel mower that has a roller? Height of cut is 2 inches." Okay, so which reel mower do you have that you're cutting at 2 inches? I'm trying to think which ones will go that high. I think the True Cut might. I've never actually tested mowing it that tall. I don't even know if the True Cut will go that tall. But the answer to the question, Jeffrey, is if you have a front roller, and that should produce pretty good stripes. Now, what I would say is 2 inches is a bit tall for reel mowing. Like on the high end for reel mowing, I would say 1.5 inches. That's where we want to be. Really, 1 inch is better. Like, that inch area is going to be better. You're going to get a better cut. If you don't mind, if you're still in the live stream, let me know which mower you're using. Let me know which mower you are using, and because that's going to help as far as knowing what to recommend. But the long short of it is, the way you get stripes are to have a front roller, which it sounds like you have, and having a heavier mower definitely helps, but also making sure that you're getting a good cut, because 2 inches should stripe all right. Even at a 2 inch height of cut, you still should get decent stripes. Jeffrey, yeah, let me know what kind of mower you have in the comments if you don't mind. And now if you're cutting Tifway 419 at 2 inches and you're using like a push mower, like a Scott's or a Fiskars, even if you do get a roller on those are not going to stripe as well as a powered reel mower, because while they do have, some of them you can get a roller for them, they don't have the weight to really lay the grass down. Like, what produces stripes? If we go back to here, what produces stripes in a lawn is laying the grass consistently in one direction. So if you look at my lawn, the light stripes are as grass that is laying away from us, from at least this vantage point, and the dark stripes are grass that's laying towards us. So the way you get that is having a mower. Having a roller helps, because that helps to press the grass down in a uniform pattern, but also having some weight on the mower is going to really help produce a better stripe, and a stripe that lasts longer. You know what I mean? So a heavier, two things: having a roller and having weight. Weight helps with a better stripe as far as the lawn goes. So let us know in the live stream if you're still here, what kind of mower you have, because that might help crack the case, because it sounds like you're doing everything else right. I've never actually cut a lawn with a reel mower at 2 inches. It's always been shorter than that. So that's certainly not helping, because I kind of question how good quality of cut you're getting with 2 inches with a reel mower. But everything else, if all else being equal, that you still should get some decent stripes, because really, the longer the grass is, the better it should stripe. But what I'm thinking is you're probably using like a push reel mower, and those just are not going to stripe as well as a heavier mower like a True Cut or an Owlet or sort of like a greens mower. Any of those are going to stripe a lot better, because they just have the weight to really, when you roll the grass down, it's going to roll it and press it and make it make it stay in that orientation. Hope that helps. Again, drop in the comments if you're still here what kind of mower you're rolling with, and that will probably help help crack the case. All right, next is Mike CS. He says, what matters most when it comes to choosing a seed for the best success of germination? Are elite brands and cultivars better, fresher? Yes. I mean, so I think the things that help with germination, that help promote a successful germination, is one, choosing the right time of year to do it, right? So if you try and seed fescue in the middle of summer in Georgia, you're probably going to have a bad result. It might germinate, but it's going to die shortly thereafter. So choosing the time that is the correct time of year for your particular grass type. So for a cool season grass in the spring or fall, and then making sure your prep is good. So making sure that there's plenty of soil to seed contact, and that there's not a lot of competing grass that's going to shade the seed and just slow down the process as far as getting it to grow. And then finally, water. Water is the thing that makes a lot of seeding projects fail. And then, yeah, to your point, the elite brands, like the reason why, like I'm not even sure we didn't even click in here and see what a bag of this Behrenbrug seed costs. Do they have pricing on here? I don't know if they do. They might not. Let's see. We go to buy now. Let's see. What does a bag of the Behrenbrug seed cost? No, we're not going to use my location, and we can skip this. Let's see here. I'm not seeing it. I don't think they have pricing on their site. I don't see it, but anyway, I'll put it to you like this, right? A bag of Bermuda grass seed at Home Depot, like say Scott's Bermuda grass seed or whatever, right? It's going to be, 20, 30, $30. It's not super expensive. A bag, when you could still get it, a bag of Arden 15, like a 25-pound bag of Arden 15, was like between $400 and $450 depending on what you paid. So if we take 25, if we take 450, we'll take the higher end of it. We take 450 and we divide that by 25. What you're paying for is $18 a pound, right? For like a quality Bermuda grass seed. I don't know what the price for like for quality fescue or Kentucky bluegrass or ryegrass seed goes by, but in general, when it comes to grass seed, like most things in life, you get what you pay for, right? So yes, in addition to all the prep work, using a quality grass seed really makes a lot of sense. And to kind of not to beat this to death too much, but really it makes sense to invest in a good grass seed whenever you're going to do this process, because really the thing for most people that ends up costing the most, being the most expensive, is water. Like most people think that, I need to get $300 or $200 for a bag of grass seed, depending on how much you buy, sounds expensive. But your watering bill after running irrigation 2 to 3 times a day for 3 weeks straight is by far going to be much more money than the grass seed is going to be. And given that, and let's say even if that where you live in a part of the country where water is not expensive, let's say that you live somewhere you're on well water or you're somewhere that just grass water is expensive, right? The time that it takes for you to do all the prep work, to lay the seed down, to rake it all in, and like that's your time. So investing in a quality seed that is going to give you the best chance for success as far as germination, in my mind, is absolutely worth it. Absolutely, absolutely worth it. You know what I mean? It's almost like, to put it in terms of like camera gear, right? It's like going out and buying a very, very expensive camera, like a very high-end camera, like, like a, like a, I don't know, whatever, like a Red or an Arri Alexa or something like that, right? And you go out and you put like a cheap kit LEDs on it. Like you're handicapping yourself. You're taking something that's really good that can produce an amazing result, and you're not giving it the best chance for success. If you're going through and you're doing a seeding project, like give yourself the best chance for success by using a quality seed, because if you do everything else right, it's going to germinate. Like that's why you're paying the extra money. Like you're not going to have as much weeds in it. You're going to get better germination. The germination rates are going to be better. It's going to be fresher. In general, you're just going to get what you pay for. So yes, absolutely, a quality seed is worth paying the extra money for, especially when you factor that it is, in general, not the most expensive thing in a seeding project by the time you're all said and done. So great question, Mike. And again, I'm sure it's going to help other people, because this time of year, a lot of you cool season guys and gals are getting ready to put down some grass seed on your lawn. So spend a little bit more money, get a quality seed. You're going to like the results you get. All right, Dalvin says it's crabgrass and sedges. Thanks. Yeah, so it's in the case of crabgrass and sedges, quinclorac and certainty are going to be what you're going to want to use for that combination. Sounds good. All right, next up is Andrew Phillips. He says, hey, Ron, I need to send my 6-blade in to get sharpened to Owlet once dormancy sets in. Not really seeing anything on the site. Where would I find that info since you sent your cartridge in for sharpening? Yeah, so reach out. I've not sent mine in as yet. I'm going to send it in. Reach out to Roland. So call their website. Reach out to Owlet USA, and you get in touch with Roland, and they can do it. Alternatively, if you've got I'm not sure where you are in the country, Andrew. I think you're in Texas, right? But if you are in Georgia, there is a local company, RealWorks, that can sharpen it, right? So they can do it. So I might, I've got to, I've still got to get in touch with Roland to get on his schedule to see if they can do it quickly for me. Like RealWorks can do it, and they'll turn it around in like 3 days, right? So because I have another mower to cut with, I haven't done it yet, but I just noticed some cutting issues with the C27. So I've kind of put it to the side and cut. The last mow I did was with the Greensmaster. But yeah, so if you're in Georgia, RealWorks can do it, or RealWorks can do it, but also just contact Owlet USA, and they can take care of it as well too. So I don't have their number handy, but just go to their website and you can find the number there. Yep, right here. So go here. Right here's got their contact information, and they'll get you squared away. Andrew Phillips. And that. So and another thing you can do too is if you go check out Real Roller's website, they have that tool, Grinder Finder. It's kind of a catchy name. Grinder Finder, which has got shops in your area that will do grinding for real mowers. I don't know if I can actually find it and pull it up here really quick. Let me see if I can see if I can do this live. It's always bad trying to do this stuff live, but we'll see if we can find it. Real rollers. You might be able to find someone locally that can do it. Yeah, here we go. So if you go to realrollers.com, man, that's a good shot, man. Andrew takes some really good pictures. Looks sharp. Okay, so you go to Grinder Finder, and then you say Grinder Finder search. In here, if you throw your zip code in, like they've got a bunch of mowers. They're still building the database out, but you can see all throughout the country, they've got people, and there's people in Texas, like these shops in Texas that will do grinding on reel mowers. So what you might do is definitely call Outlet, see what their schedule is going to be like, what it's going to look like logistically to send your stuff in to get it sharpened. Or also look around at some of these shops, check them out, and see and say, hey, listen, I've got an Outlet. Are you guys good with grinding it or sharpening it? And just explain to them that it's like the cartridge is all you'd be sending to them, and make sure they've actually done it before. And if they have, that might save you some time as far as having to ship it and ship it back and this kind of thing. So check out that tool, that utility that Real Rollers did. They are still building it out, Grinder Finder as far as that goes. But I mean, it's a cool service to the community. And again, Georgia, obviously, they've got tons of shops, but just go through here and see if perhaps someone that's there can get you squared away as well too. So that's lots of different options. Call Real Rollers or check out that utility or that tool that call Outlet or use that utility that Real Rollers has placed on their website that will help you find someone in your area that does sharpening. So hope that helps, sir. Next is Zoysia versus Bermuda. He says, hey, Ron, my soil test came back. My pH was 7.5. NPK was low. Last fall, pH was 5.5, and I was able to raise it, but I can't believe that much. Yeah, that seems like that's a pretty big jump. Is the high pH hurting my NPK? And this is Eric. You sent lawn domination. Okay, yeah, I know this is. So having your pH be outside of that Goldilocks zone, which is really the mid 6s, but 5.8 to 7.2 is where that's acceptable. Is going to hurt your nutrient uptake, especially with when it comes to micronutrients. When your pH gets higher, like iron and some of the other micronutrients become unavailable. So you'll be throwing iron at your lawn, and you're not seeing a big pop in color as far as green goes. But at 7.4, you really shouldn't be seeing too much of that. What I might say, what I might try is this: you can use a citric acid, Eric, to help lower your pH, to help bring that down some. But also the fact that your NPK are low kind of points to that you haven't been feeding your lawn very much. And what you tend to find is that if you the salt, the sodium that's in fertilizer, in over time has an acidifying effect on the soil. It can also help lower pH a bit. But really apply citric acid and then feed your lawn, and then test again in 3-4 months and see where things are moving at that point. So that would be my plan of action for you. If you said all three are low, like your N, your P, and your K are all low, then what you're going to want to use is, I'll show you here. We'll go to the Golf Course Lawn Store and go to Shop and Weed Killer section. Wrong section. Shop and Lawn Fertilizer section, and then scroll down to find the green bag, which is this Yard Mastery Triple 12 Starter Fertilizer. This is going to be a great option. It's got all three. It's got your N, your P, and your K, and it's also got a micronutrient in there as well. So if all three levels are low in your soil test, this is what I would use. And then also use a citric acid to help also further lower your soil pH. That would be my plan of action for you based on what's going on in your lawn. All right, next is Mike CS. He is back. He says, I'm coming to terms. Here we go. Guys, we're wearing him down. He said, I'm coming to terms with eventually acquiring a real mower. It's almost like, he's at the, what is it, all the different stages of grief. He's finally coming to acceptance that, real mower is really important to having having an awesome stand of grass and a turf, especially if you're like a short grass that tolerates being cut shorter. All right. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm coming to terms with eventually needing to acquire a reel mower with a cartridge system after considering the prices of some expensive equipment such as a power rake or aerator. Yeah, I feel you, Mike CS. So here's the thing. You're right. Like you look at something like the Aerator, right? So let's look here. Am I still on the website? I think I already clicked off. I think I did. Yeah. If you look at something like the Aerator, like they say the Sterling, right? The Aerator Sterling, which is an expensive mower. It's not. There's no ways about it. It's not an inexpensive piece of equipment. If we go over and we look at it, like that mower is $4,500, right? If you use my coupon code, it'll save you $100, so it'll become $4,300. So it's $4,500, which is not inexpensive, right? But then if you go out and you buy the cartridges, which I have to find, let's see, the cartridges are under shop, and I guess maybe QC lawn care cartridges, maybe. Yeah, so here we go. So I think these are the ones, maybe these are probably not the ones for it. I may need to go back to, because the ones for the Sterling are different. Yeah, okay, so say you're gonna go get your, the lawn, let's say the Scarifier, right? Which is this guy, right? So you get for $539, you now have a Scarifier. So we're now at $5,000, right? Is that correct? Is my math right? So $5,500, you now got a Scarifier, and now you want a Verticut, which is really the one is kind of really cool. For $750, you're at now we're out just under $6,000. We're like almost $6,000, and now you've got a mower that's going to cut really well. It's going to stripe really well. You have a Scarifier, and you have a Verticutter. So you got everything you really need as far as the core to really take care of a lawn very well, especially if you have like a warm season lawn where verticutting really is beneficial, right? So, but if you add that up now, if you went out and you bought like let's say you bought a brand new True Cut, right? You're at $3,000 right there. And then if you go out and you buy a Verticutter, you're talking another $1,500 thereabouts, and then a turf rake around the same thing. And here's the thing. Even if you could do that, let's say you could buy a used mower, a used power rake, and a used Verticutter for less than the cost of a Sterling. Let's say you could do that. The thing, coming from someone that's actually done this without having a mower that has like a catcher on the front of it, I'll tell you, even if you went and you bought a turf rake and a Verticutter, you will do it like 1 or 2 times whenever you realize that after you go through and you turf rake or verticut the entire lawn, you've now got like way more time, hours worth of cleanup to do as far as getting all that debris off the lawn. The mere fact, and it sounds like a very basic thing, you wouldn't think that it would really matter that much. The mere fact that this mower has this on it, the mere fact that it has a grass catcher, a debris catcher on the front of it, like that right there makes it worth it for doing verticutting and turf raking of your lawn. Because literally you're going to go out, you're going to do all that work, and all the garbage is going to go in there. You're going to take it off, and you're going to walk the basket over to your bin and dump it out, and you're going to put it back on. And then when you're done, you're done. You don't have to go through and get like a garden rake and rake the entire lawn. So for that reason, that's why I think a mower with an interchangeable cartridge system is really worth it, because yes, the cost of entry is a bit higher, but the fact is, coming from someone who's actually done it, you won't, if you buy a turf rake and a Verticutter separately and they don't have some way of catching the debris, you're not going to use them regularly. I'm telling you, because it's a ton of work to go and clean them up after the fact. Whereas with this, it almost becomes fun, because literally you get out there and you turf rake, and wow, all the trash is in there. And then I Verticut and all the trash is in there. And you do your cleanup cut and all the trash is in the grass catcher. And then you're done, and it looks awesome, right? So for that reason, a mower like that is worth it if you want to introduce regular cultivation into your lawn care program. So that's something you have to also factor in as well. That is not really reflected in the price. Don't just look at the price and say I can buy these 3 pieces of equipment for less than this, because even if you buy all 3 of them, you're not really replicating the same experience that you get versus that one piece that is highly optimized to do all those tasks. So hope that helps. I know I went on a little bit there, but I mean, I just want to help you realize that it's not just the money aspect of it. It's the experience and the ease of use that really makes a big difference. Next up is the Zoysia and Bermuda. It says, other than in the email, just put down the triple 12s. I already told you the triple 12. Yes, the triple 12. And then if you want to get some citric acid, that will help as well too. Really one of the best, if you want to see a really good video series on pH, on soil pH, the guys at that do the My Soil test kits, Soil Lab. Let me see if I can find it here. I always forget if I spelled it with 1 L or 2 L's. Yeah, so here we go. So this video here, this series on soil pH is totally worth watching, Zoysia. And I promise you, it's not boring. It's not like they're going to geek out and throw a bunch of stuff that's going to go over your head. The way he explains it, the presenter explains it, is really easy to follow, and you'll actually enjoy watching it, because they do 2 things. They show a soil that is very acidic, so with a low pH, and then they show soil that is very alkaline or high pH, kind of like what you're dealing with. And they show treatments for raising pH and for lowering pH, and they do the testing over a couple of months, and they show the effects that the treatments have on the soil. So it's a quick watch. Literally, if you spent like 20 minutes, you could get through the entire series. It's not that long, and you'll be able to see the benefits. And that's what I'm telling you, like your fertilizer and then a citric acid should do the trick for you. All right, sir. So you got you all squared away. You got your fertilizer and you got your research topic, your homework as far as what to go look at for seeing how you can lower pH over time. Robert Rainey is in the house. What's going on, Robert? With that nice that high pose at the top of your backswing, saying good evening. What's going on, Robert? Hopefully all is doing well, sir. Hopefully you're getting to play a lot of golf. I know that's your thing. All right, and then next up we have Lee Farmer. He says, "Hey Ron, I think I may have a nematode infestation, the bad kind that eats your roots. My leaves are light green. I'm following an application Clemson recommends. Have you heard of this before?" I've heard of nematodes, but me personally, I've not come across any home lawns that have had a problem like what you are dealing with. If you don't mind, Lee, send me an email with send me the email to the article. I probably can look it up myself. I can just Google Clemson and nematodes. I'll probably show up in Google, right? But if you don't mind, send me an email with the article you're referencing. So I'd be interested in reading it just to see what they're recommending and what you're doing to your lawn. Always out to learn cool and new stuff. But to answer your question, I have not come across very many viewers that have said, "Hey, I've gotten." They've had problems in their lawn, and it was confirmed that it was nematodes that were the culprit. So, hope that helps. So shoot me an email with the program you're following, so I'd like to take a look at it. Ron@golfcourselawn.com. That's where you can find me. All right, next up is Two Trilla. He says, "Hey Ron, happy Friday, everyone. Is it just me, or has Zoysia been blessing us with just the right amount of?" So here's the Two Trilla. You gotta be eased, man. You got all the rainfall. The Texas people are in here, man. They're getting it really sporadically. We don't want them coming after us. But I'll read the rest of your comment. Is it just me, or has Georgia been blessing us with just the right amount of rainfall? I mowed the day before, and as soon as I stepped in the garage, it came pouring afterwards. Yeah, I've been seeing that too. It's very fortunate that we've been getting rain this year, and it's been just the right amount to where you don't have to run irrigation, which is very cool. We'll leave it at that because there's other parts of the country where people are still struggling with getting rainfall. So we want to be considerate of that. But yes, I too have observed what you are pointing out as far as rainfall in the great state of Georgia. So there is another comment that we had from last week that I need to revisit here and make sure I answer that before we get too far on the show, before I forget, right? And it was about zeolite. And that was a new one for me. I'd never even heard of it before. So it was a research topic, and I also bounced it off of some friends of mine that actually work on golf courses in the work in the professional turf industry. The question was, if I can find it here. Yeah, here we go. So let me get you off the screen here, Two Trilla. And it was, Ron, I made a question about zeolite. I have heard some golf courses use it. Not sure exactly what they use it for. Would it be okay to use zeolite instead of sand for leveling? The short answer is no. So the two people that I asked that both work on golf courses, what they do, they manage golf course turf. Neither of them use zeolite, and one of them even had to look it up what it is. And really what it's used for is if you have a soil that has ammonia, has high levels of ammonia, or you're worried about ammonia toxicity, that is where zeolite can be used to kind of like bind that up and prevent it from becoming a problem in your soil. So unless you actually have that going on in your lawn, which I kind of doubt, unless you certainly have a problem with ammonia toxicity, then no, there's no reason to use that. So the golf course, probably the article or video, whatever that you read that's using it, they're using it for that very specific reason. And unless that condition is also the case in your lawn, there's no need to use zeolite instead of sand for leveling. So that was another question I had to address between last week to this week. It is now addressed, and now we can go on to our next comment of people that are here actually live. All right, next up, we have Andrew Phillips. He says, "I'll be sending my photos from starting real mowing this year." You got to do it, Andrew. I want to see mowing 2 to 3 days a week as a minimum. Sprinkler person, that's nice. Sprinkler person asked for my business card, maybe in my future. Where do I send photos? Thanks. You send photos right here, Andrew. Ron@golfcourselawn.com. If you send them and they're not massively big, I might be able to get them on the live stream tonight. But I mean, you probably want to make sure you get your nice after fresh mow. The stripe action is looking good. You want to get your angles right. I get it. Don't rush it. Don't rush these things. So if you want to get it done to me, get it to me like throughout the week, or right before the live stream next week. That's fine too. But if you send them to me, I will show them on the live stream, and it's a pretty big compliment when you have someone that installs irrigation for a living, that works on a lot of lawns, says, "Hey, what would it take for you to come take care of my lawn?" You're doing something right, sir. But and the big thing is you're mowing 2 to 3 days a week. So keep doing that, and the lawn will keep rewarding you with amazing stripe action and comments from the neighborhood, which is, I mean, it's not all that we live for, but we like people to recognize it, right? When our lawn is looking better, it's nice when people stop by and they say, hey, lawn's really good. You're like, yeah, glad you noticed. I appreciate it. Appreciate that. All right, next up is Exported African. He says, mad props on the golf course lawn store service. Items arrived in less than 18 hours from the time of order. Yeah, so if you're ordering, depends on what it is. That's true for everything. But if you're in Georgia, and you're ordering certain things, if you're ordering like Primo Max or Certainty, or let me think what else, Celsius. If you're ordering Celsius, Certainty, any of the fungicides, depending on when you order, typically we're able to get those delivered the next day. Normally, not always. So don't think that, oh my God, he says overnight service. I didn't get it the next day. In most cases, if you order them, especially if you're in my area, if you're Northeast Georgia, in most cases you tend to get it the following day. For some products, that's not true for the majority of the products on the store. Again, for Primo, Acelepryn, both in granular and liquid, and for Celsius and Certainty. Those, if you're in the state of Georgia, those tend to go, and it depends on when you do it too. If you do it during business hours, we're able to get it shipped before it's too late in the day, then you tend to get it same next day, and by worst, like the day after that. So I appreciate that, Exported African, because I know how it is, man. I know when I order stuff, I want it. Like as soon as I hit order, I'm like I'm checking for like tracking information. Like when they're gonna send my tracking information. Then like when is it gonna update? Have they picked it up yet? Is it on the way yet? So I get it. So I think of whenever I buy something, what experience would I want to have that I would mark as saying this is a good experience, a good shopping experience online. And I try and replicate that as much as I can. I can't do it for all products, but the ones that I can do it for, I do my best to get things shipped out, because I appreciate you guys' business. I mean, you always have choices where you can shop, and I want you guys to choose the golf course lawn store. So our service has got to be the thing that that sets us apart from everyone else. That's what we aim for. Next up is Mike Harvey. He says, in regards to my email with the pics, any ideas? Not much iron has been put down after the top dress. No work activity that I saw. Yeah, Mike. So guys, what Mike is talking about, you guys haven't seen the pictures, but his lawn had some discoloration going on in it. It almost looked like when you over apply iron on a lawn, what will happen is the lawn is going to look really awesome, really deep green, looks incredible, like you're the rock star of the neighborhood. And then a few days later, it will turn like a dark, almost like a black purplish color. And that's what's happening in his lawn. So I asked him, hey, did you happen, this is a safe space, did you happen to do a very heavy iron application? He said no. But then when I looked at some of the other pictures, it almost looks like stress, man. Like it doesn't, like I wasn't really seeing the dark black purplish color you were talking about as much. I mean, it's a little bit, but not as much as what jumped out to me was a lawn that looks like it's just under stress. It didn't look like a fungus problem or anything like that. That I could see from the pictures you sent. If you don't mind, if you can send me another picture a little bit closer up, a little closer to the grass, because everything you sent was pretty far away. That might help me identify if there is some kind of a lawn disease issue from the 10 or 20 or 10 to 15 feet away that you took the pictures. It looks to me like a lawn that's just drying out a bit. So maybe try increasing your watering a bit. That might help. Or just send me another picture that's closer up, and then we can see about diagnosing a little bit better. But yeah, that's where he's talking about as far as an iron application, because typically when a lawn turns dark, super dark green, and then black purplish, normally getting a little bit too aggressive on the iron application is the culprit. That wasn't the case in Mike's situation. All right, Gary Montague is up next. He says, hey, Ron, I watch weekly, but this is my first time in the chat. Well, first of all, welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out, man. I appreciate you, watching each week, but then also, dropping in to say, hey, and actually, commenting is always fun, too. It's always nice to see new viewers in the chat, which is always nice. He says, I appreciate all your efforts to educate us. I have hybrid Bermuda grass in the state of Georgia, which is awesome. That's good, man. I'm glad you find it useful, and that you're finding some time to take out some time on your Friday evening to come hang out and watch the show. So I really do appreciate that. So here we go. Question is, my lawn has improved since following, but I have a large outbreak of goosegrass and crabgrass. Should I kill now or just wait for the cold weather and rely on pre-emergent? Yeah, so goosegrass, I'm trying to think. For that, Revolver will do it, but Revolver's expensive. So I might let the goosegrass go, Gary, and then use pre-emergent next year to prevent that in the spring, to prevent that from being an issue. The crabgrass is kind of your call. You know, you could use this. Quinclorac is a great option for crabgrass. That is something you can actually do to knock the crabgrass, to get rid of the crabgrass. That's not going to break the bank. If you want to let that go until next season too, that's also an option too. That's the cheapest option. So it depends to you of how much it's bugging you and how badly you want to get rid of it. If you want to get rid of the crabgrass now, quinclorac. If you want to get rid of the goosegrass now, I'm pretty sure Revolver will do that. But again, it's a very expensive product for that. Like the best way to prevent both those things or keep both those things out of your lawn is pre-emergent. You know, use a quality pre-emergent, and that's going to do a lot for preventing crabgrass and goosegrass from being an issue in your lawn. So it depends on you. It depends on your budget and whether or not you want to do it. What I'll do is I'll send you the links for both of them. You can look for yourself and decide if they're an option. Quinclorac would be the one I would probably lean more towards, like going after the crabgrass, because it's not going to be super crazy expensive, whereas the Revolver is going to be pricey. It's going to be pricey. So get Gary, and this is the quinclorac, and then Revolver, which is like I think almost like $300 for like a bottle of it. It's not cheap. It's great stuff. It's not cheap. Is going to be for your goosegrass. So at Gary again. And there is Revolver, if I can spell it properly. There you go. All right. So yes, hope that helps, sir. Pre-emergent is going to be the least expensive way to prevent it. But if it's bugging you, it's a huge eyesore and you want it gone, then in that case, those are some post-emergents that can take care of it. Grass Thief says 1.25 pound of and for season because I just installed the Tahoma in June. Yeah, so the conventional wisdom for Bermuda says you want to apply 4 to 5 pounds of nitrogen over the course of the growing season. So what that means is when the grass is actively growing, so between April-ish until September, October-ish, that you want to be able to get down around 5 pounds of nitrogen spaced over those months. What I typically do is I don't try and go above a pound of nitrogen at any given time. So that's where when you say a pound and a quarter, I assume that you meant that for a single application. If you're going to take a pound and a quarter of nitrogen and space that out for the rest of the season, then sure, that can work fine. But 1.25 pounds in a single app is a bit heavy for my taste. There's people that'll do it, but for me, that's a bit heavy. So I think that helps explain my position and why I went off on the little tangent saying why you might want to back that rate down. All right, Trilla is here. He says, I know you're not using Turfplex at the moment, but when you were using it in combination with the 16-4-8 granular, how much nitrogen were you putting down in that month's application? Yeah, so when I was using it with a 16-0-8, not a 16-4-8, which was Humic Max. And I was applying it at 6 ounces per thousand, which comes out to 0.10, a tenth of a pound of nitrogen per app. So what I was getting was half a pound of nitrogen from the granular. And then between the two applications with the beginning of the month and the middle of the month, I was getting another 0.2 of a pound thereabouts. So all in, I was around 0.7 of a pound of nitrogen over the course of the month in my lawn when I was using Turfplex. So hope that helps. But if you're applying it at the rates that I was using, a tenth of a pound per app per the bottle. Do I have it here? Actually, I got a bottle of Turfplex right here. Yeah. So I can... Yeah, so quarter pound. Yeah, so exactly. So 6 ounces is a tenth of a pound. So yeah, and I think that's everything you had as far as that comment goes. And yeah, that produced a good result for me. You know what I mean? And I might, next year I might go back to Turfplex. I mean, don't just because I switched to Turfplex, guys, does it mean or switched to 901C this season because my phosphorus levels are a little bit higher? Does not mean that Turfplex is a bad fertilizer. It's an excellent fertilizer. As a matter of fact. If you had to pick, the thing with Turfplex that's kind of nice is that it makes your micronutrient go further, right? Because 901C, while it's an excellent fertilizer and has things that Turfplex does not have, like the micronized carbon and the biostimulants and everything else, it does not have any micronutrient in it, right? It doesn't have any iron in it, which Turfplex does. So Turfplex, as far as more of a one and done liquid product, is a better product from that regard, from a standpoint of fertilizer. So that's why I'd say that it's still a great product. If you want something that's going to cover everything, then just continue to use it. If you use 901C like what I'm using, you really have to use a micronutrient like Nutrizol along with it. So I can show you really quick here to Trilla. So we're still in the fertilizer section. So what I was doing last year was just this guy for the most part, this with a light application of this. So Turfplex with a light application of Nutrizol, like 3 ounces, just a taste. But this year I'm doing 901C, which I don't have on this page, 901C along with a full rate application of Nutrizol. So Nutrizol, and I do, it's right here in front of me. 901C and Nutrizol. These two together is what I'm using this year. Full rate application of 901C, 6 ounces per thousand, and then a full rate application of Nutrizol, again, also 6 ounces per thousand. Whereas last year, it was Turfplex, 6 ounces per thousand, and then Nutrizol, like half rate. Because really, this already has iron in it. I'm just using the Nutrizol for the other micronutrients, you know, for your boron, copper, zinc, manganese, and to just as a filler. You see what I'm saying? So they're both excellent products. Both strategies can work. Really, Turfplex is going to be a bit cheaper because you're only buying one product versus the two, but you can get a good result with both. So I don't want you guys to think that, oh no, Ron's not using Turfplex, so it's not any good and we shouldn't be using it. It's still an excellent fertilizer. If it were not good, I wouldn't have it on the store. So anything that is on the store, I believe in is a good product. Okay, next is Sean Chafin. He says 33. What's going on, Sean? 33. Okay. Thanks for that, I guess. And then Nutch V is up next. He says, hey, Ron, I am planning on adding a top dressing in September to my perennial ryegrass in New Hampshire. Would you recommend Carbon Pro G or Essential G? I'm confused on the G's. I'm confused on the G's. Or something to increase organic matter in the soil. Either one can work. Here's what I would say, Rich V. If you are planning on top dressing, and of the two, Essential G or Carbon Pro G is going to be Essential G or Carbon Pro G are going to be easier to spread. So we can go over the G's really quick here. We can do this. So if you go to shop in the Miramichi Green, Carbon Pro G we don't carry because it's a white label product for Lesco. They're the only ones that really can sell it. That Miramichi Green makes for them. So Carbon Pro G and Essential G there's similar formulations of the same product where Carbon Pro G is biochar and compost and a little bit of mycorrhizal bacteria in it. Essential G is also, this one is also compost, biochar, but it also has coffee grounds, some humate, and some silica in it. So as far as formulations, this is a newer formulation than Carbon Pro G. They're both easy to spread because they're prill. They're in a prill form. So all you need is like the same spreader that you use to apply fertilizer. You can use that to put it down. Either one can work. It just really depends. If you've got a way to get Carbon Pro G locally, then that's going to save you on shipping because a lot of what you're paying for with Essential G, like this is $59.99 a bag, and you're paying for the fact it has to be shipped to you. Carbon Pro G is probably going to be around $30-$35 a bag, but then you have to go get it. So it's your call which way you want to go. As far as effectiveness, they're both going to be great products. As far as the results you're going to get a great result with both of them. Essential G is the newer formulation, but again, either one can work. How I would use them in your top dressing plan with your ryegrass is if you're going to do your top dressing, I would do a heavy Essential G application prior to the top dressing. The thing is, we do list rates as far as for coverage, but really when it comes to a top dressing app, your budget is the limit. The heavier, the better. So get that done, get that applied, and then top dress on top of it, and then you're good to go. So that's the only thing that I'd say do you as far as order of operations, get the biostimulant down prior to the top dressing, and then you're good to go. That's how I like to do it. But either product is going to produce a great result for you. Either one will work well. They're both made by Miramichi Green, so they're both going to be great products. All right, next up we have Trevor Johnson. Trevor's here. He says, "Happy Friday, Ron. Planning to put down dithiopyr later this month for my fall pre-emergent." Good choice. Do I want to continue with that in the spring, or do I switch to a treatment of prediamine? Either one can work. Trevor. You can alternate with prediamine. You can do prediamine in the spring and dithiopyr in the fall if you want. So here is how I would make that decision. Either one from a standpoint of pre-emergent is going to do a great job. The benefit dithiopyr has is if you have crabgrass in your lawn, it can kill young crabgrass. So dithiopyr has a little bit of reach back for young crabgrass, whereas prediamine does not. So if you're thinking about it from a standpoint of which one am I going to get the most value out of given the time of year, dithiopyr is probably a little bit better in the springtime, because like in the spring is when crabgrass is going to start to germinate. Whereas now you still probably have some crabgrass trying to grow in your lawn, but not nearly as much as like brand new crabgrass is going to start in the springtime. So if you had a choice between the two, you said, hey, Ron, I've got both. I've got prediamine, I've got dithiopyr, and I can apply them any time of year. Which one would you use in the spring, and which one would you use in the fall? If you've never used either before, I would say go with your prediamine in the fall and use dithiopyr in the springtime. Only because if you are a little bit late on your spring pre-emergent application, the dithiopyr is going to have the option of knocking out some of that young crabgrass. That's the only reason. You're kind of splitting hairs there, but that's where dithiopyr kind of has a leg up over prediamine. And the value that it provides as far as killing young crabgrass, in my opinion, is more beneficial in the springtime than in the fall. But either one will work. Either one's going to work great for you. So hopefully that helps. And if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. All right, we got, let's shout out Lawn Whisperer real quick. We got Lawn Whisperer in the house saying, yo, what's going on, Justin? Hopefully you're doing well, man. Hopefully you are recovering from the injury. I saw you got some damage to your leg. So hopefully you're recovering really well from that. Guys, if you want to watch some cool season content, whenever he gets back off the mend, go check out the Lawn Whisperer. He's got a great channel, great content once he gets recovered. All right. Next up is William Peterson. He says, when is the best time to dethatch your lawn? Depends on your grass type. If it's Bermuda or Zoysia, then springtime before the lawn is going to start actively growing, because dethatching is really rough on the grass. You want to do it whenever it is about to start really taking off as far as your growing season. So you could do it in the spring or fall for cool season grass. Again, I would probably bias more towards the springtime. And then for warm season grass, also springtime. That's when I would do it. So it depends on your grass type. I would not dethatch a cool season lawn in the middle of summer, because it's already stressed out. It's just trying to make it through till September. There's no reason to go out and dethatch it in the time of the month or the time of the year when it is very, when it's already struggling. So you wanna do anything really aggressive like that when the lawn is coming into the point where it's about to start ramping up, when it's coming into its own as far as starting to grow aggressively. So it's going to recover from it, because again, dethatching is pretty aggressive. It's pretty hard on the turf. Robert Rainey's here. He's a slight yellowing where each pass meets day after day. Thoughts? Yeah. I mean, so what that means, Robert, unfortunately, is you're getting a bit of a hot spot. It sounds like, right? You're getting a little bit of a burn in there, unless you're really. So here's a couple things you can do. How often, if you're mowing every day, I mean, it pains me to say this, but you could slightly try offsetting the mower just a little bit, so you're not like making the same pass each time. And then if you are not varying your mowing pattern, that is something you should start doing. That is going to help with the situation where you're getting the yellowing. So let's say, for example, you have one direction where you have your vanity stripes, right? Where you mow the same way each time. You really want those stripes to kind of get set and burnt in. What you could do is, if you're starting to see you're getting some a bit of discoloration in the areas where you're mowing the same way, because those stripes are pretty much set, they're not going to fall away very quickly. Like stripes that I set like last year, when this lawn woke up, you could still faintly see them. You know what I mean? So what you might want to do is mow for the next couple of mows, instead of mowing in the direction where you're trying to set your vanity stripes, mow for the next couple of mows across pattern. So again, if I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here, I'm trying to describe it, but it's easier to show sort of. So if we go back to my lawn one more time. Okay, so right now, if we pause right here. So let's say I was having the issue where you have, because in my lawn, if you were asking which way are the stripes going, you would say, yeah, it's obvious they're going to and from the house. But if I were running into the issue that you were running into, where I'm starting to get a little bit of yellowing, because that's just from where I'm mowing the same way, for like the next 2 or 3 mows, I might not mow in the direction that I am, to and from the house. I might make all my mowing lengthwise. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So instead of mowing in the way, I know that's the wrong one. Instead of mowing in the direction that you're trying to really burn your stripes in, the stripes are going to still be there. If you've been mowing that way all season and you're trying to burn in a particular pattern, that's going to last for 2, 3, even 4 mows. To help those stripes recover a little bit, for the next few mows, just mow lengthwise, mow across, across perpendicular to the way you normally do. That's going to help the grass recover. And then when you go back to mowing your normal way, you're going to be just fine. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do. Give the area that's getting beat up a bit, give that a little bit of a break by mowing in a different pattern for the next couple of mows. That is what I would do. You could mow less too, but I know you're not going to do that. So vary the mowing pattern is what I'm gonna tell you. Next is Kwanbina Kumi. He says, Ron, thanks for the advice last week. I'm in full swing for my fall overseed projects. Very cool. What are your thoughts on irrigation systems, smart sprinklers, sprinkler heads, etc.? Thanks, Quabs. I've never used any of the really smart irrigation systems. If you're talking about, by that you mean the sprinkler heads that are the electronic ones where they can throw a different, they can vary the throw of the water based on like a grid that you set up in some software. I've never tested those to actually know how well they work. I've seen some YouTubers that have done videos on them, and from what I've seen, if they get set up properly, they can be okay. They can be all right. But I've never used one myself to be able to tell you, one, how well they work, how difficult they are to set up, and then also the thing I'd be most concerned about is how long they last from a wear standpoint. Because here's the thing: sprinkler heads are not an item that lasts forever. Like they get wear, and eventually you end up having to replace them. So if one of these like smart sprinkler heads is really expensive and you're having to replace it every, I don't know, depending on what you're doing, if you're aerating and doing things that could cause damage to it every 3 or 4 years, again, depending on what's going on in your lawn, then that could add up to be quite a bit. So again, the videos that I have watched, when they are set up properly, it looks pretty cool, because what it does is it'll get near shrubs, and the mowing, it'll pull back the throw to where it's not throwing a bunch of water in the shrubs. And then when it gets back to the lawn, it'll increase it, which is very cool when done properly. But I don't have any direct experience to be able to say. I've never actually installed one myself as well to be able to tell you how well they work. So all I can say is do some more research, and if you think it's for you, and especially if you have an area where they make sense, then perhaps consider it. But for me, my lawn for the most part is a pretty boring lawn. It's just wide open, and I don't have a lot of obstacles that I can't address by just adjusting the just using the clocking that is built into the sprayers, into like the PGP heads that I use. So in my case, I don't really have a use case for one of those. But if you do, then give it a shot. What I might say is I might not replace all sprinkler heads in your lawn with one of those. I would reserve that for special areas where they can really benefit. So I hope that helps. I've not used one, but that is, if it were me, where I would look into using a system like that. Next up is Ben Raham. He says, Ron, thanks for hosting. Anytime. It's what I'm here for, sir. That's what I'm here for. Need to restock my carbon 901C kit. Should I keep applying bi-weekly through September? In your local area, Bermuda seeded Reno this year, the Maya seed is finally hitting its stride. Very cool. Should you keep applying through September? Yes, because really October is when I gauge. It was when I sit back and I gauge where we are temperature-wise, how the lawn's doing, and say, okay, am I going to still do like another full rate application of granular in October, or am I going to start backing off? Because like if we were like last year, I could have done a full rate application because it was the lawn. We were still warm in December here in Georgia. It was crazy. The weather was crazy last fall. But yeah, September, you're still good to go. So for September, I would still do a full rate application of your granular and the 901C kit, the carbon kit. Absolutely. Yep. I would still do a 1st and 15th app as you would. And then when October rolls around to the end of September, early October, gauge how things are looking from a weather standpoint, what the forecast is looking like. And then you can back down your inputs. What you might do then is you could still apply a granular if temperatures still look like we're still going to be growing for a while. You could still apply a granular, perhaps back the rate down a bit, and then just continue to use the 901C carbon kit. Because remember, what you're putting into the soil from a nitrogen standpoint, from the liquid, is not very much. It's not a lot. Like the bulk of your nitrogen is coming from the granular. So if you reduce your granular inputs, the application rate you're using on your granular fert, you can still continue to use 901C or Turfplex into October, because what you're putting into the soil again is a very low amount. The rate is very low. So hope that helps, sir. And I'm glad to hear that the Maya Bermuda is hitting its stride. I always like to hear when seeding projects go well, because I know it's a ton of work, ton of money, ton of water. So it's always nice when those projects are doing well. Thin Cut is up. He says, hey, Ron, I have a little problem. The main part of my lawn has both common Bermuda and Zoysia. For plant growth regulator, the Zoysia needs 1/4 of an ounce and the Bermuda needs 3/4 of an ounce. I don't want to damage the Zoysia. Any suggestions? Thanks. Yeah, so here's the thing. If you have a hybrid Bermuda thin cut, you can go up to 0.40 fluid ounces of Primo per month. So that's not quite as much. I mean, that's still under half of what the common is calling for. But what you might do is what I might do is I might do split apps. That's thing one. Do split applications. So don't go out at the full rate at the beginning of the month, and maybe try like 0.2 at the beginning of the month, and then 0.2 at the middle of the month. That is kind of the upper limit of the hybrid Bermuda rate for Primo Max, and it's getting us closer to what the common is asking for. Granted, the common might still grow. It might not be enough to really give it good regulation, but it's still better than nothing. So I might split the difference. You know what I mean? With Bermuda being the more, with the Zoysia being the more, actually, you know what? That answer is incorrect because I was thinking you have hybrid Bermuda. So scratch that. So yeah, you can't, I mean, your only option really thin cut is one I don't really like, which is if you're at 0.25 on the Zoysia, on the Primo for the Zoysia, if you want to try a tiny bit more, like 0.3 over two split applications, so one in the beginning of the month, one in the middle of the month, and see how it tolerates it, that is that's about the only thing you can do. The thing is question I might ask is the Zoysia and the common, are they really integrated? Like, is it literally a lawn where it's like the Zoysia and the common are all intertwined all throughout the lawn, or do you have a section that is mainly Zoysia and a section that is common? If you have it to where that you can kind of break it out a bit, then I might mix a tank that's just for the common and then mix one for the Zoysia. And the Zoysia is not going to tolerate 0.75. I mean, you might be able to go up a little, a touch, like to 0.3 over split applications. You might get away with that, but you're not going to be able to get, I would not spray 0.75 on Zoysia. I apologize for the first part of my question. I was thinking a hybrid Bermuda lawn and a common Bermuda lawn. That's a question I get a lot. So that's where my brain just went into for the answer. For Zoysia, really 0.25 is really where you want to be. If you're doing split apps, if you want to go up a touch, a skosh, like 0.25, like a 0.5 up more. So you're over the entire month, you're talking about 0.3. And again, over split applications, that is about as far as I would go, just and see how the Zoysia tolerates it. That's the only thing I might tell you. Because that's a perfect example. That's what you're experiencing thin cut is a perfect example of why I'm not a fan of mixing different grass types. Like, some people will say, hey, you can do Kentucky bluegrass and Bermuda and run them together. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea until you have problems like this, because the rate for plant growth regulator for Primo for KBG is quite a bit higher than it is for Bermuda, at least for hybrid Bermuda anyway, right? So which rate do you use? The same thing that you're running into, you could replace literally common Bermuda with perennial ryegrass, and it would be the similar scenario, which is why mixing different grass types is just a bad idea for a lot of different reasons. So it creates a headache for this kind of thing. But what I would say is 0.25 is really where you need to be. If you want to go up again, it's probably not enough to really make a measurable difference, like 0.05 over the course of the entire month, so like you're doing a 0.15 application at the beginning of the month and a 0.15 application at the middle of the month. That's a tiny bit high for the Zoysia. But if you're breaking it up into 2 applications, it probably will tolerate it okay. But best bet would be if you tell me that your lawn is split up to where the common is one section and the Zoysia is another section. So now the only headache is you just got to mix 2 different tanks of Primo. That would be the best option, because you're not going to really be able to control common with a very low rate, unfortunately. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you on that one, man. All right, next up is I can't say this. Faz Chris says, hi. Hey, Faz Chris, I got it right. It says, how do you make your grass look a lot thicker and a lot better? That's a great question. So depending on where you're starting, it really comes down to a proper fertilization program and a lot of mowing. So you want to make sure you're feeding the lawn the correct fertilizer at the correct rates, and then you want to make sure you are mowing a lot. So it sounds kind of... All right, guys, we are back. Sorry for that. So I got to move all my windows back over here, but it's going to be It's gonna make for a fun live stream. Apologies for the inconvenience. Machine crash. So we're back. Hopefully it holds up. This is funny. Ever since that last security update that Apple did, the last patch, it's happened a couple of times. I was hoping it wouldn't happen during the show, but apparently I was wrong. But anyway, we will continue. All right. So where was I? Yeah. So as far as making your grass look thicker and greener, Z Chris. So it comes down to a couple of things. One, how you feed your lawn, like making sure you're using a proper fertilization program. So using the fertilizer that's correct for your particular soil type on your lawn. And then once you're doing that, it really comes down to mowing frequency. So the question you're probably asking yourself is, how do I know which fertilizer I'm using? How do I know which one is the right one? It's a good question. So the way you're going to know is by using one of these guys. Switch over here. It's a soil test kit. So if you're brand new to the program, you've probably heard me mention soil testing. These guys are really easy to use. You're going to collect cores, send them out in a week. You're going to get a email with results that are going to tell you what is missing or what's going on in your particular soil. And then based on that, you'll be able to pick out a fertilizer that matches. So once you got that covered, it really then comes down to regular mowing, like proper mowing. So if I can show you here really quick, I think this is going to work. Hopefully this is going to pick up Safari. It does. Cool. Yep. So if you go to the golf course lawn store and then click on shop, this is really the blueprint here. I have it in this infographic. So the step for getting a great lawn, right? If we're going to take it step by step, is step one, eliminate weeds, because weeds are terrible. We all hate weeds, right? Step two is to do a soil test, which I already talked about, which is going to tell you what kind of product you should buy for step three, right? Which is fertilizer. So fertilize your lawn based on your soil test results. And then it just comes down to step four, mow, and mow some more. You do that, and then an awesome thick lawn is a byproduct of proper mowing practices and a good fertilization program. You know what I mean? So like the mistake that a lot of people make when it comes to getting a great lawn is they try and chase green grass directly. You know what I mean? Instead of asking yourself, I want a great looking lawn. What does it take for grass? Like grass is a plant. What does it take for grass to do really well? You know, what does it take for grass to do well? And frankly, healthy soil is what produces healthy grass. So healthy grass is just a byproduct. You know what I mean? So following what I was showing you there in that infographic, getting a soil test, fertilizing your lawn, and then picking up your mowing is really going to do a lot. Now, as far as mowing frequency, twice per week is really the barrier for entry as far as being able to get a great looking lawn. Like I say, if you're mowing once a week, it's going to be really challenging to have a great looking lawn just doing that. So I would say if you can get out there 2 times a week, once on the weekend, another time in the middle of the week, Wednesday or Thursday evening, that's going to do a lot for you to get a great looking lawn. So that's it in a nutshell as far as how you get a thick lawn, how you get a lawn looking green really quickly. And I know it's not even really necessarily quickly, but how you get one over time. We got a super chat here from John Williams. I appreciate that, John.
Super chat received.
He says, now we're going to have to ask Ron even harder questions, Ron. Yeah, you have to, right? You asked the question so hard, the computer's like, oh, that's too tough. We got to bow out. We're out of here. But yeah, ever since that last update, I've been having instability issues. So hopefully Apple fixes it here soon or something, because that's not good. I can't have that happening during the show, right? Okay, next up, let's see where we were after Z Chris. He says, same thing happened to me. Mine needs leveling. I'm not sure what you mean, because G Free, which one you're talking about. But next up, we have Kevin Dow. He says, I have the same problem as well, first world problems, but my yard isn't as level. Okay, so I think the question is, you guys are talking about the comment around the scalping. Yeah, so if you're allowing your lawn to get really, really thick, so you're not thinning out somehow with verticutting or doing that mid-season scalp, then cutting issues are something you'll likely run into eventually. If it's something where you're talking about the cutting problem from mowing sloped areas, a lot of that is technique, because you really leveling a slope, even if it's level, you can't cheat physics, right? Even if you take your lawn and make it as flat as this my soil test kit, like this is your lawn, it's super flat, just like that. Physics is going to dictate that the mower, if the mower is mowing lengthwise, that more weight's going to be in the lower portion than the higher portion. So that's why mowing technique also matters as far as preventing cutting issues or scalping issues in your lawn. All right, next up is Jerry Sobel. He says, with my Sterling 51, I have significantly reduced the thatch and lateral growth. I am going to top dress this weekend with sand. Did you verticut, power rake, and then cut before you recondition top dressing? Because I was already at the height of cut that I was at, Jerry, what I did was verticut, what you described is exactly it. Verticut, power rake, and then did a cleanup cut. So what I did was just try and thin the turf out a bit. Do you have to do all that? No, not really, but it does help. It does help as far as getting the sand to settle better, makes the leveling or working the material in a bit easier because you're not fighting with the grass as much. Yeah, that is what I did. But if out of those two, I could only pick one, I would do a good verticut and then top dress. The turf raking, not strictly necessary, but if you have the ability to verticut, I would do that and then do your top dressing. And if you have the time, you can turf rake as well, but really verticut and then top dress is good to go. And then you're saying, how long should I wait until to cut the grass again? Really, if you are not trying to have to send the mower into sharpening, you want it to be pretty much grown through fairly well. Like how my lawn looks now, it's taken longer to recover this time around. Then that took figure around 3 weeks. So 3 weeks, depending on how heavy you go, because every lawn is different, right? It depends on how heavy you go on your top dressing. But I would say if you don't want to have to send the mower in for sharpening at all, unless you have like a sacrificial mower, like another mower you can just use to cut the lawn with for the first few mows, give it 3 weeks. That's what I would say. Because if you could do it much sooner than that, then you're probably going to get some sand into the reel and bed knife, which means you're going to have to send it out to get sharpened. So, but again, it depends on how your lawn recovers, right? I've had it where, like last year when I top dressed the back lawn, where it was when I did it and it was very light. I was mowing because I got a lot of rain afterwards, and I was mowing like less than a week later. But then now, whenever it was done this year, it was a lot heavier than what I normally do, and it took much longer to recover. So there you go. So it depends on a lot of factors: how heavy you go, and how quickly the lawn is taken to recover. But again, given that you have the brand new Sterling, you probably don't want to have to get it sharpened at least for the rest of this season. So if you have another mower you can use for the first few mows after the lawn grows through the top dressing, that is what I would do. That is what I would do. Great question. All right, John is throwing down some more support. I appreciate that, John. Thanks for that.
Super chat received.
He said, hey, Ron, am I able to mix Celsius and Prediamine? You can. I mean, you can, but the what I would do is this. If you're going to mix them, I mean, really, Celsius is a post-emergent product. But whenever I was doing the neighbor's lawn, not Alex, but the one this year that was the salad bowl, in the spring, when I did the pre-emergent application, I did Celsius, because it had everything. It had broadleaves, it had POA, it had everything going on. I did Celsius, Certainty, Prediamine, and liquid acetylprin, all in the same tank, all in the same batch. It all went down at once. The thing that I didn't do is I didn't use surfactant. I didn't use surfactant when I did that. And then I told them to wait until the following day before they ran their irrigation. So don't water in the pre-emergent until the following day. So it can work. Ideally to get the best out of Celsius, you're going to want to use surfactant with it. But if you want to mix it with Prediamine, if you mix with surfactant, you're trying to make the Prediamine stick to the leaf, which really you don't want that to be the thing. So if you're going to mix Celsius and Certainty, what I would say is go ahead and you can do it, but don't just omit the surfactant is what I would recommend if your goal is to do a little bit of weed cleanup, but the primary thing you're after is to get the benefits of the pre-emergent. You want the pre-emergent to work as well as it can. Don't mix any surfactant along with it. So that is what I would say. I did that this year on a lawn that was literally it needed everything. I mean, it needed everything, and it worked well. It worked well. The Celsius and Certainty combination was still really effective for cleaning up the weeds in the lawn. And the pre-emergent also worked very well on his lawn. So it can work. It's not the most optimal way, but it absolutely can work. It absolutely can work. Okay, next is Shauna W. I got to speed up on answering questions here. Says, sorry if this was asked already. I will use pre-emergent for the first time this year. I have Prediamine in the water dispersible granule. I'm in East Texas with Bermuda. When is the best time for it? I'll be using it in the fall and the spring. Okay, so for the fall, I would say like when we enter September, so mid-September is a good time to begin using getting your fall pre-emergent application down. The most correct answer in the fall is whenever soil temps are around 70 degrees trending cooler. That's when you want to get your prediamine application down in the fall. In the spring, before soil temps are consistently in the 55 degree range, because that's when crabgrass begins to germinate. So when it comes to pre-emergent, Shauna, a bit early is better than a bit late. So if you want to say, mid-September for your fall application and then late February for your spring application, that's close enough and you're going to get a good result. Again, when it comes to pre-emergent, getting it down a little bit earlier is better than late, because it's not going to do a whole lot for you after the fact. You want to get it down prior to the weeds emerging. It's kind of like in the name, right? Pre-emergent. So appreciate the question. Hope that helps. Let me know if you need anything else. Yeah, Mike CS says, if you look at the other cartridges for the Sterling or Kensington, the Thatcher and Aerator look almost the same except for slightly different blade shapes. Yeah, I have not looked at those. If they're the same, in that case, I don't know. But I was comparing the ones that I look at, which is for the Sterling, and then also for the mower that I have, which is a C27. If they're the same, then perhaps choose the less aggressive one, because you'll be able to use it more frequently. That would probably be my recommendation. And Shauna is back. She says, very worst situation in my backyard. All Bermuda, but the middle is just flat, matted, won't grow much. Doesn't sound good. Edges are thick and grow great. So strange. I scarified and hoping it would help. It didn't. Okay, so you have Bermuda. The black is just flat and it's matted down. Edges are thick and grow great, but it's okay. So when you scarified, how much material came out, Shauna? Because if scarifying really should help break up the matted down areas. I mean, you may have to. Now, your lawn. Now, remember I was talking earlier about dethatching. Your lawn might be a candidate for doing that. I would not do it this time of year, though. So I would not dethatch your lawn this time of year. But say next spring, if you have a big portions of your lawn that are really matted down and just not growing well, then your lawn might be a candidate for, like, next spring. We'll use a dethatcher. It's gonna be a bit more aggressive, and that's really gonna get rid of all the matted down, grass and thatch that you got in that middle area that's not growing so great. So let's save that dethatch for the spring of next year. And that will help. That will definitely help. It'll help give the lawn a big reset. And then by doing it in, say, late or say Aprilish time frame. Where are you? You didn't say where you are. You have Bermuda. But let's say Aprilish time frame. You're getting into the beginning of the growing season, and the lawn's going to have plenty of time to recover, and you should see a much better result in the lawn if you were to do that. So hope that helps. Let me know if you need anything else. Chris Hunnigan is here. Says, Ron, you are the lawn god. Far from it. Far from that. I know a little bit about Bermuda, but outside of that, I am far from that. It says, what is the best granular herbicide that handles dandelions, thistles, nutsedge, and spotted spurge all in one product? Well, you did say what handles them. You say what handles them well. So as far as a granular herbicide product that can produce decent results with proper application, I'm going to take you to Spectricide. So if we go here, I'll show you the one I'm talking about, Chris. So if you go here and you get the one that's in the bag, this one, the Weed Stop, this one works fairly well against a lot of what you covered. It's definitely going to cover the dandelions and the spurge. Thistle, I'm not sure. Nutsedge, it'll do so against that. It's not going to be great against that. But the dandelions and the spotted spurge, it'll do a really good job on those, because what it is, it's a combination of, it's got a little bit of pre-emergent in there, a little bit of dithiopyr, but you got 2,4-D, megaprop, dicamba, so you got a little bit of everything as far as post-emergents go. Here's the thing. This product will not work well as a post-emergent if you apply it to dry grass. If you apply it to dry grass, it's not going to work well. So what you need to do is, if you're going to go with Weed Stop, so this one, and the nice thing about this, you can get this at any of your big box stores, Home Depot, Walmart, they all sell this. It's going to be like $15 a bag thereabouts, right? The way to apply this properly to get a good result as a post-emergent is in the morning when there's a lot of dew on the lawn. You'll apply it then. So when the lawn is wet, or right after irrigation, if you're running irrigation, the entire lawn is wet, that's when you'll want to apply it. So apply it, and then you stay off the lawn, kids stay off the lawn, dogs stay off the lawn for like 24 hours. That's going to allow the product to stick to the weed, the leaf, the foliar of the weeds, and it's going to allow it to work. That's going to give you the best chance for success with this product. If you apply it to dry grass, you'll get the pre-emergent benefits, but it's not going to really work well as a post-emergent. So you absolutely need to apply it to wet grass and then let it dry. Do not water it in. Let it dry on the grass, and then it will, you'll get a decent result against the dandelions and the spurge. But again, the sedges and thistle, I don't even know if that's on the label, but against nutsedge, it's going to be the hit or miss. It's not going to be great against sedges. For sedges, your best product for that, for warm season grass, is going to be Certainty. And you didn't say what kind of grass type you have, but I'm answering your question as if you have warm season grass. If you have St. Augustine, do not apply the weed stop because the I think this has got quinclorac. Does it have quinclorac in it? I'm trying to think if this has quinclorac in it. This one does. This one doesn't. Okay, so this one might be good for St. Augustine. Just check the label when you go to the store to pick it up, and make sure that the grass types that are on there are like what you have. I'm trying to see here really quick. Let's see if I can show you how to apply or where to apply. It should say where. Trying to see it, but I'm not seeing it here quickly in the description. It's on the website. I'm sure it's here, but I'm just not seeing it. But yeah, check the label and make sure that it's safe for your particular grass type before you put it down. For warm season grass, it's great. Bermuda, Zoysia, awesome. Cool season grasses and our St. Augustine, check to make sure that it's safe for those grasses. And I appreciate the kind words and for you watching the content. All right, next up is Exported African. He says, I'm guessing it's a McLean. Pretty sure mine goes up that high. Cool. Okay. Well, that very well could be McLean. And next up is Scary Peeper. He says, okay, dude, your avatar is kind of creepy. I gotta tell you. I mean, I've seen a lot of avatars. That one, kind of creepy. He says, forgive me if you answered this before. I'm in central North Carolina and just put down Tiff-Tuff Bermuda sod in my yard. Any tips or guides for what I can do for preparation for the fall, winter? So when you say just put it down, well, how soon is just put it down? Was it like this spring or was it like last week? If it was like this spring, so it's been growing for a while, it's rooted in nicely, then I would get a pre-emergent down and I would just keep mowing it until it goes dormant. I would get a pre-emergent down and make sure you're feeding it with a proper fertilizer, and then mow it till it goes dormant. Again, like I said, if you want to see a schedule that we have, it's free and it's easy to that you can easily use. Go to the golf course lawn store, click on the blog, and then scroll down to the article. This is step-by-step guide for getting a golf course lawn. Click on this and then scroll down to the very bottom, all the way down. I mean, everything else in there is really cool. It's good reading if you haven't read it yet. But at the bottom, there's a calendar, a very basic month-by-month calendar for your lawn. And that was going to help you get a great result. So we are now in the August timeframe. You're still feeding the lawn, mowing it as usual. When September comes in, you're probably not going to be using growth regulator as yet on your lawn because you just got it. You're still getting started. But as far as consistent mowing, that's a thing. Your fall pre-emergent, you want to start looking at that again, assuming that the grass is established, assuming that the lawn is established, you could get a pre-emergent application down. At the end of September, I like to do a fungicide application, both do two, one in September, one at the end of or early October, and another one again the end of October to prevent issues with spring dead spot. But the base thing for you, Scary Peeper, is to feed your lawn, make sure you're fertilizing it. If the lawn is established, get a pre-emergent down and just keep mowing it. Keep mowing it until it goes dormant. You can find this again. This is a free guide that's on the store under the blog section, and yeah, that's what I got for you on that one. So hope that helps. If you have any other questions, let me know. And I'll try to revisit it. But I got to speed up here because I got a lot of questions and I've been talking too. Apparently, I've been pontificating a bit too much tonight. That and the crash didn't help either, right? All right, next is Mike C. says, with how easy it to overwater is the seed to the point of it affecting germination. There hasn't been a point where the seed was not moist. Maybe some of it is that it's a little deeper than others since I raked it in. It could be. I mean, what you don't want is for the lawn to be a sopping big mess. Like that is obviously too much, right? But it needs to be moist. It needs to be like if you were to grab the soil, it should feel moist in your hand, but not so moist that it feels muddy and gross. How's that for like a non-scientific answer? You know what I mean? So it could be the seed you use, Mike. It could be the fact it could be your prep. Like, so if there's other competing grasses around, that could be hurting the issue. You know, and it just could be a time thing. Here's the thing: unless even when you seed a lawn, it doesn't necessarily all grow in evenly in all parts of the lawn. When I had that planter when I was seeding, and you talk about a place that all you had was carbonized P, and all it was just soil. There's no weeds, there were no other plants in that plot of soil competing with the grass to grow. And even in that case, what I found is the grass germinated around the edges where it was warmest, and then slowly it began filling in the middle. And that's a situation where you're talking about like perfect conditions, like as good as you can get. It still didn't all start growing evenly all throughout. So when it comes to seeding a lawn, just realize that it's not like a perfect thing where you seed it and then all throughout the entire area it's all going to grow in all at the same rate all at the same time. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. We got another super chat here. We grab that, or did I miss it? One from Chris Hunnigan. Thanks so much for that, Chris.
Super chat received.
He says a triple character spinning around with the hands up in the air, having fun. Sounds like a good time. Sounds like a great time, man. All right, next is Heartfelt Fashion. He says, hey, Ron, how can you tell when you need to backlap or sharpen your reel or blade? What backlapping compound do you use? Okay, so when you can tell you need a backlap is when just the quality of cut goes away, right? When you start getting some scalping, you get down, you look at the grass, and you see that the edge is not even. And for me too, I can also tell by sound. The mower sounds differently when it's sharp. When it's sharp, it's like a knife through hot butter. You know what I mean? It's like the tone of the mower doesn't really change very much when you're cutting. As the mower begins to get dull, it gets louder. The reel just gets louder, and the engine labors more because it's more work for it to cut. When you backlap is when you start noticing just the quality of cut just isn't as good. You can backlap it. After backlapping the mower, it's still not cutting paper all the way across. That's when you know it's time to go in for a sharpen. So on my mower, on the C27, the left side of the reel is still cutting paper just fine. And after I backlapped it, the left side still cuts paper just fine. The middle cuts fine. The right side is not cutting as good as it could. And it's the right side when I'm looking at it. So really, it's the left side of the mower. The left side of the mower, as I'm mowing, is the area that's not cutting paper as well. The middle and the right side are still cutting paper. So I don't want to keep going in and tighter and tighter and tighter on the tolerance between the reel and the bed knife. So after I backlap it, if all across with the mower at the same setting, same tightness setting across the reel, the bed knife clearance, if it's not cutting paper all the way across, that's when it's time to take it in for a sharpen. So, and as far as backlapping compound, I'm using the 80 grit. You can get it from Real Rollers. That's where I got mine from. 80 grit backlapping compound is what I'm using. Hope that helps, Heartfelt Fashion. And yeah, so that tells you when you need a backlap and when you need to sharpen. And the C27 is now in need of a sharpen. Jason Greenlee says, happy Friday, Ron. When do you start raising your height of cut going into fall? I've been mowing at 1 inch and just raised to 1.2 inches. I typically don't. So I tend to cut at at 0.75, and I maintain that throughout the mowing season. So when the lawn's going to go dormant at 0.75 inches, and it's not really going to, I'm not going to change that until I scalp next year. So that is what I do. But it works for me. If you want to, and I've gotten a good result with that based on where I live, Jason, because the winters here in Georgia are relatively mild. I've done 0.75 going into dormancy. I've done 1/2 inch going into dormancy, and the lawn came back the next year with no issues whatsoever. But again, where I am in Georgia, our winters tend to be mild. I haven't had any problems with that, because the problem with raising the height of cut, if I let it grow out to say 1 inch or 1.25 inches, like what you're doing, that's fine. That will work. But now when I have to go scalp, I've got 11,000 square feet that I've got that much more material that I have to get rid of. So I'm just trying to save myself a lot of work in the spring by not letting the grass get overly tall. So hopefully that helps. In my case, I don't change the height of cut. Leo Garcia is here next. He says, Austin, Texas in the house. What's up, Austin, Texas? Ron, we got rain. We got rain. Grass is coming back to green. What fertilizer should I put down? So as far as, okay, so the rain, you just got grass. That's good that the lawn is greening up. The fertilizer you should put down, Leo, is based on your soil test results. So if you've not done a soil test, do one. That's going to tell you what your soil needs. So, and that's That's the best answer I can tell you. So as far as knowing using a fertilizer that's going to be the best fit for your lawn, a soil test is going to do that. If you're going to tell me I don't want to do that, too much work, I just want to put something down, then your choices are, I'm going to say flagship, because I'm really not a fan of putting phosphorus into lawns unless you actually need it. So if you say, hey, I don't feel like fertilizing, I don't feel like doing a soil test, but you really should, then I would say go with something like flagship, like this guy here. So a 2406, that's got nitrogen and potassium. Pretty much all grass needs that in quantities. Like those are the two macros that the grass needs to be replenished over time. Whereas phosphorus, it tends to hang around a lot longer. So this would be my recommendation if you're not going to do a soil test. But again, if you do a soil test, that's going to be your best bet. You're going to be able to pick the correct option, because suppose now your soil needs phosphorus and now you're only using 2406 when this would be a better option, right? So a soil test, Leo, these are really not that expensive, and for $30, you're gonna get the answers to the test, and it's going to ensure that you get the best results and the best value for your money that you're spending on fertilizer. So I would get a soil test done and then fertilize your lawn based on those soil test results. Glad to hear that you're getting rain in Texas now, because I know you guys were dealing with a lot there. All right, Adam Regis says, I just bought a Kubota L2501 tractor. I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool. So you know what? We are going to clap it up. If I can find my sound effects. Everything got blown all over the place. Stuff's all over the place. Can I find it? Maybe not. I might not be able to do sound effects, guys. Let's see here. Can I find it? So what do you use? A Kubota sounds pretty cool, man. There we go. And congrats on the new equipment. So I got carried away, and my 3,200 square foot garden became 5 square feet. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what an L2501 is, but it seems like that's a lot for 30,000 square feet, man. It seems like, I mean, to me, this is just someone that doesn't even know what it is. Because you said tractor. You said an L2501 tractor. So I'm thinking a big piece of equipment, which seems like a lot for 3,200 square feet. But hey, if you want to ride when you mow, I get it. I get it, man. Again, you like it. I love it. Patrick in Texas says, how is the Yard Mastery fertilizer prill size compared to Humic Max? It is bigger. The prills in the Humic Max spread nicely and evenly and settle down in the turf well. I found the bigger prill on some ferts stay on top of the grass. Yeah, so you can't really compare. So I think the Yard Mastery prill is something like a 210 SGN, which is it's typical. It's what most fertilizer size is. Humic Max, which is a 150 SGN. Like this is abnormal. This is not common because it's expensive to make fertilizer like this. Like to make like a fertilizer this small and make it not evenly distributed, it's more expensive to do it. So yeah, the prill is bigger, but it still works well. I mean, Alex uses it on his lawn. I use it on my lawn. That's what I've been running now. There's no Humic Max. So that's an option. It can still work well, Patrick. But you are right. The prill of the Humic Max of the Yard Mastery fertilizers is larger. It's like an SGN 200 or 210 size versus the 150 for Humic Max. But it, again, can still work just fine. All right, Frank Robinson says, love the content, bro. Appreciate that, Frank. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming to hang out in the live stream. Of course, we have our troll that we had to block. Sorry, but not sorry, troll. Ta-ta. All right, next up, Daniel B says, hello, Ron Jerry's joining the live stream. Yeah, and he's also banned too, right? So until next week, until they create another account. All right, see here. OPB says, I see no one talks about Jonathan Green products. I do. They make a product they make two actually, for raising and lowering soil pH. We actually carry it on the store that we talk about, but it's just not. There's not really. I'm trying to think if there's anything else from them that I ever recommend or use, and I can't think of anything. But yeah, Magical. So here, take a look here, OBP. If you go to shop on the golf course lawn store and then soil pH and soil test kits and pH adjustments, you got Magical Plus, and you got the two versions, one for raising soil pH and one for lowering soil pH. So that is the only Jonathan Green product that we carry. It does work. But yeah, I guess I should do research into some of their other offerings. But it's not like I have a hatred for Jonathan Green. We just don't just don't use their products. Just like a lot of the Anderson stuff, they make great products, but I don't use it. I can't use everything on my lawn, right? I got a few things that I find that works well, and that's what I tend to stick with. Next up is Mike CS. He is back. He says, when it comes to liquid fertilizer, would I use it to complement granular? Yes. In between regular applications, you could. Would I still apply the same total nitrogen during the season? What's considered spoon feeding? Okay, so the way I do it, Mike, is I do a granular application once per month. And I do it at the beginning of the month. So let's say September. September's rolling around here. It's going to be here in 5-ish days or so, right? So the beginning of the month, I will apply, say, flagship, right? I'll do a granular fertilizer application. And then I will also, on the same day, I will also apply the carbon kit. So what that means is I will spray this. I think I've got it in here. I've got the carbon kit, so I'll spray this, which consists of Release 901C. I'll show you release. I use the 901C version. It consists of Release 901C, NutriKelp, and then BioSpectrum. So a fertilizer product, a kelp product, and then a bacteria, a healthy bacteria product, a product to help feed bacteria, to promote bacteria in your soil. So I use that, right? So that happens on the same day along with Nutrizolve. So the carbon kit and Nutrizolve is what I use along with a granular fertilizer at the beginning of the month. So the 1st of September, that's what will happen. In the middle of the month, right, I will use the liquids again. So because the reason why is because I apply the granular at a rate that has it doing most of the heavy lifting. So it comes out to around 1/2 pound of nitrogen is what I'm putting down from a granular standpoint. And then from the liquids, I use that to put down, say, 1/10 of a pound of nitrogen at the beginning of the month and another 1/10 of a pound of nitrogen in the middle of the month. And all that does is it helps for more consistency. It doesn't push a lot of excessive growth, and it makes the color stay consistent and the growth stay consistent. So spoon feeding is giving the lawn just a little bit of food at a time. You're spoon feeding it. You're giving it a little bit of food. You're doling it out versus one big heavy application all at once. You know what I mean? So that's what I do, and it produces a good result. The only negative to it is that it takes more time because you got to apply. You're going to be out there on the lawn twice in a month instead of just once. So hope that helps. The total amount of nitrogen that goes into the lawn is still the same. Into the soil is still the same. You're just splitting it up over different applications. It's not like you're doing the same heavy rate multiple times. You're dividing the rate over several applications. Next is Chris Graham. He says, I've been fighting Dallas grass and goosegrass, 2 ugly ones. Those are 2 nasty ones to fight with. Any herbicide tips for moving into the fall and next season? Yeah, so for the goosegrass, if you can tell me what kind of grass you have, I'm assuming it's like a warm season grass like Bermuda. One of the better products for getting rid of goosegrass is very expensive. It's called Revolver. It's going to be around $300 for a bottle of this stuff. So it's very, very expensive, almost not even worth getting for most home lawns. And for the Dallas grass, there's not a herbicide that is, at least that I'm aware of anyway, that is selective, that is labeled for use on residential lawns, meaning you're not supposed to use it on a residential lawn. So for the Dallas grass, your best bet is to dig it out, meaning physically remove it. And for the goosegrass, that is best prevented in residential lawns with pre-emergent. So get your Prediamine or dithiopyr application down in the spring and fall. Just keep pre-emergent in your soil, and that's going to do a lot for preventing, if not preventing altogether, but seriously reducing the amount of goosegrass you have to deal with. For the Dallas grass, you just got to physically remove it. There's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, you can, if you want to try injuring it, you can spray it with like glyphosate, but then you got to really be very careful. You got to make sure you're just only spraying just the Dallas grass. And again, it's not going to kill it. It's gonna give it a big ouchie and knock it back for a few weeks, maybe a month or so, but it's going to come right back. So the best bet to really truly get rid of it is to physically remove it. Mike CS is weighing in on the smart sprinklers. He's saying, I've come to the conclusion to avoid those smart sprinklers due to various issues, reliability, cost, wind, customer service, spam, etc. Install a regular system and gets a smart controller. Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to use one, I would not have those sprinkler heads all over the lawn, because a sprinkler head is a disposable item in your lawn. Like you're gonna eventually have to replace them. They're gonna break eventually. You're gonna get dirt down in there, or something's gonna happen. It's gonna get hit by whenever you're aerating, or something's gonna happen, or it might get stuck up in an up position, and you might not notice it, and you might hit it with a mower. Done that. So you have a $30, well, not even that much. I mean, we'll say most expensive, a $30 sprinkler head to replace versus some of these smart sprinkler heads are, a lot more money. They can be $100 or more. They can be pretty expensive. So I think in very niche cases, they can work well. But it's not something I would use in all areas all over the lawn. And again, because I don't have any direct experience, I can't really recommend one. I can only go by what I've seen as far as reviews online and other YouTubers that have done them. And even people that like them, they all start out saying it really depends on how well you get it set up. When you first try to use it, it's not going to work well. You got spend a lot of time tweaking it, making sure it works and get it set up right. And once you do that, it can be okay. So take that for what it's worth. Isaac Momperuz is here. He says, Ron, I'm in Florida on vacation. I'm seeing St. Augustine is basically a weed. Ooh, you gotta be careful, man. The St. Augustine people get really upset about that. St. Augustine is basically a weed. I'm missing my Kentucky Bluegrass rye mix. Here's the thing. Hopefully Alan's not watching. Because here's the thing. Because I gotta tell you, a St. Augustine lawn that's well manicured looks good, because I know there's a lot of people in Texas that have St. Augustine lawns. It's a pretty popular grass type in Texas, and by itself can look pretty good. But to your point, when it's growing out wild, it does look kind of weedy, kind of like Bermuda. When Bermuda is just is growing out by itself and it's unkept, it looks a lot like a weed. But yeah, I get it. If you're used to your ryegrass or KBG, I could see how St. Augustine could be, look a bit different than what you're used to. But again, it just depends on where you're from. I mean, in Florida, Bermuda's a weed. In my lawn, I would not want St. Augustine in my lawn. I would consider it a weed. I would try and get rid of it. So it really just depends on what you're used to and what you decide to keep in your lawn. So there you go. There you go. All right. Next up, you said this. You guys were having a good time when I was gone. The screenshot was great when I was talking, right? when the computer went down. All right. Next up, Dinket says, Ron, thanks for the mower for the answer. In my lawn, Zoysia is right in the middle of the lawn with common around it. Okay, so we could solve that then. So if the Zoysia is right in the middle and you've got an area that's mainly common, it's more work, but then you can spray the common at the higher rate, or most of the common at the higher rate. And the area near the Zoysia, you can spray that at the lower rate. So that's good. So we're good. He says, it's right in the middle, intermingling. Maybe Fusilier 2 might be my friend, LOL. Both grass types look fantastic now. Yeah, so here's the thing. Fusilier 2 is a great product, but I mean, unless you're planning to replace the common with Zoysia all throughout, I wouldn't do that. Like, Fusilier is a great product. It's very good. It's very effective against Bermuda. But if you're going, I mean, especially when you mix it with glyphosate, it's really good against Bermuda. It looks awesome then. But if you're gonna do that, have a plan for the Bermuda, because you're gonna get rid of it. And you're gonna have like a spot of Zoysia that looks awesome, and you're gonna have a bunch of dead grass all around it, which is not gonna look great. I would argue that's gonna look worse than the mutt lawn you have, which is Zoysia and common Bermuda. I would say that keep what you have now and just work with it, unless you're gonna do a complete reno. So yeah, and the fact you say it looks fantastic, I would just say, man, just work. Love. If you can't have the lawn you love, you really want, love the lawn you do have. You know what I mean? You got to love the lawn you're with. Love the lawn you got with you. All right. Let's see here. LRCXD says, I bought Fusilier 2 to spray on my fescue lawn to kill Bermuda. What rate do you suggest to spray it at? I have to check the label. I don't know off the top of my head what the rate is on fescue. I believe it's around half an ounce. I think it's around 0.5 fluid ounces with a gallon of water over 1,000 square feet. I believe that's correct, LRCX. But read the label, check the label, because here's the thing. Fusilier has a couple of different application rates when you check the label. The label will have an application rate if you are spot spraying, and it will have an application rate if you are blanketing. So read the label to see what guidance it has for your particular grass type. I want to say around half an ounce with a gallon is I believe that's correct. But check the label. Check the label. That's the thing. And you say, is it safe to use in high 80s and low 90s temps? I'd be afraid to go if the temps are really high. I'd be afraid to do that. But again, check the label for any guidance around temperatures. Most herbicides do not. They will cause injury even to the grass that they are rated as being safe for once you get into the 90s type temperatures. Celsius and certainty, less so, but most herbicides are going to cause, and it's not going to be permanent injury, but you're going to get some yellowing once you start spraying it at higher temperatures. But again, check the label and see if there's any guidance around spraying at higher temperatures. That's gonna be my best bet for you there. Okay, next up we have weed control for centipede. Yeah, so I'm not sure what you're looking at, Russell. So I want to say that's so there's a depends on the low level or on the less expensive route. There is a Spectricide product that is fine for rated for centipede. I'm trying to find it here and get the link for you. So yeah, so anything with atrazine in it will work. But this guy here, Russell, this is going to work fine on centipede lawn. The active ingredient again in this product is atrazine. So if you can just find atrazine by itself, you can use that. But this will work on. It's safe on centipede and it's safe on St. Augustine lawns. It doesn't kill as much stuff, but this can work well. So take a look at that if you're looking for something that's a fairly easier to use, easy to spray product for taking care of a centipede lawn. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if Celsius will do centipede. I believe so, but let me check the label for you really quick. I don't want to give you bad advice, but on the cheap, Spectricide is going to be the way you're going to want to go. If you're trying to go more expensive, but it's going to cover a lot more stuff. It's going to kill a whole lot more stuff. Then potentially Celsius, but let me check the label here and make sure that you are good to go. I don't want you to put something on your lawn that could potentially damage it. As you can tell, guys, Bermuda is my so it looks like centipede is fine because it's pretty much all warm season grasses other than Bahia. I know there's one, and it's Bahia. I was wondering between Bahia and centipede. It's Bahia that you can't spray this on. So I'm just checking here. So yeah, so you're good to go on. So you're good to go with Celsius on centipede if you want a more broad spectrum herbicide, but it's going to be more expensive. So if you want to check that out, if you go here to the golf course lawn store and then you check on shop and then the weed killers section, then you've got Celsius along with a surfactant is going to do a really good job. Here's the thing too, also depends, Russell, it depends on which weeds you're dealing with, right? So if you're dealing with sedges, then certainty and a surfactant will work well. If you're dealing with a lot of broadleaves, then Celsius and a surfactant will work well. So really, the answer depends on which weeds you are dealing with, what you're dealing with, and then also whether you feel comfortable using a backpack sprayer or a pump sprayer, mixing products and using them and applying them properly. It's not hard to do. If you look at the product description for both those products in here, there is a video that explains how I do it. There's multiple ways of applying the product, but the rates that I use for Celsius that produce a really good result. And in this video, it shows how to use Celsius and Certainty together for a really good result. So it just depends really on the weed you're trying to target, and also your comfort with mixing herbicides. Again, not hard to do, but just really depends. On the easy side of the spectrum, that Spectricide product with atrazine in it is going to work okay. You're going to get much better coverage and better results with a more professional grade product like Celsius and or Certainty. Again, depending on the weeds that you are targeting. All depends on the weeds you're targeting. If you got like Dallas grass, nothing in the store, nothing that I sell is going to work for Dallas grass. So it depends on the weeds, but again, for a broad spectrum, Celsius and or Certainty. TK says, what is your strategy for using fertilizer on an overseed? It's a good question. Should I apply directly after seeding or should I wait a few days? I'm in New Jersey and we'll be overseeding with perennial rye. Doesn't really matter. You could apply a little bit before, you could apply day of, you could apply afterwards. You know what I mean? Because the idea is it's not like if you don't put fertilizer down, the seed's not going to germinate. Like the seed, there's enough in most seeds, like at least any coated seeds, to kickstart the grass growing. It's not like if you seed the lawn or overseed the lawn, you don't put any fertilizer down, heaven forbid, the grass is not going to grow. But if you want to continue feeding it, giving it make sure there's plenty of nutrient in the soil with like a starter fertilizer or something. If you want to do that a few days before, the day of, or a few days afterwards, doesn't really make a huge difference in the big scheme of things as far as it's serving the purpose that it's intended for, which is making sure the new grass has nutrients. Doesn't really matter. I can tell you when I have seeded my lawn, I have done it the day of. So I have done, because I did it as part of a top dressing project. I aerated, did all my biostimulants, then I fertilized, then I top dressed, and then I did the seed and just raked the seed in. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter. Day of is how I've always done it, but it doesn't. Again, it's not like you're not going to get that. That is not the thing that's going to prevent. This is going to make or break your seeding project, TK. Mike CS says, should I wait to should I throw some more seed down after 10 days of what I think is scant germination of the perennial ryegrass, or wait? If so, at what rate? So if you've got some growing in, and in some areas, but then other areas it's not growing in at all, yeah, if you want to put some more seed down, that's fine, but just use the same rate. Don't go heavier. You know what I mean? So if it's what you could do a couple of things. You could wait, you could be more patient and give it a bit more time and see if it grows in. And if what you find is you've got, an area, so let's say the My Soil test kit is our lawn, and this green area here, we got no germination, but everywhere else around here we're getting germination, then I might put a little more seed down here, but I would just use the same rate. There's no reason to go heavier than the rate that you tried the first time. So just try again and see if you get better luck this next time around. But what's probably happening, Mike, is the area that you're not seeing the germination yet, it's probably still going to germinate. It's just lagging behind the other spots. Because again, I have tested seeding Bermuda, Zoysia, and perennial ryegrass in like perfect conditions. Literally, I had like the best soil. There was no competing grass. It had got plenty of water, tons of sunlight, and even in all three of those planters, you would think that even perennial ryegrass, which is very easy to grow, you would think that it would begin growing evenly all throughout the planter. It doesn't. It didn't. It started growing around the perimeter where there's most warmth, where there's most heat, and then the middle slowly filled in. Bermuda did the same thing. The Zoysia did the same thing. So, I guess I'm trying to say is that it's not an exact science where if you put the seed down, you're going to get it to grow all throughout, all at the same rates. It's not uncommon for some areas to lag a little bit behind others, but eventually it all filled in. So if you want to put some more seed down, you can, but I think that what you did is likely going to germinate if you're already getting some. It's just going to take a bit of time. Next up is Dwayne Hopkins. He's in the live stream. He says, "Hey, Ron, happy Friday. Hope all is well." It's okay, man. Had a couple of technology issues. The machine crash on me, but hey, we're back. The show must go on, right? It's going to make for a fun edit after the live stream to try and cut that section out, but I'm glad you guys stuck with me. All right, Dwayne is saying, Ron, I plan on overseeding my lawn with ryegrass this year. So you have a Bermuda lawn and you're taking the plunge. You're going to do ryegrass. It's only about 800 square feet. In addition, I plan to spray it out in the spring next year. Is there anything else I should consider? No, not really. I mean, it's the thing that I was going to warn you about. You already know you're going to have to do that. So the thing with why I have not overseeded my Bermuda lawn with ryegrass is a couple of reasons. One, I'm from the Caribbean originally, and I don't like cold weather. Like literally anything below 65 degrees is officially cold to me. So I do not want to have to get out there and mow when it's cold out. I was talking to some of the guys at Real Rollers the other day. Andrew, those guys are from Canada. They're like, "Oh, it's the best thing, man. Mowing when it's cool. Weather's out in the fall. It's just great mowing." I'm like, "No, it's cold. I don't have to mow in the fall." So that's the primary reason why I don't do it. The second reason is for what you're saying as well too. In the springtime, you're going to have to spray it out. And the thing with that, the challenge I have with that is you're spraying the Bermuda, like you're spraying to get rid of the ryegrass at a time when the Bermuda is coming out of dormancy. So you are smacking the grass you really want to keep with herbicide at a time when it is more vulnerable. Really, if you could spray herbicides in your lawn in a perfect world, like post-emergent herbicides anyway, you would spray them when the lawn is either completely dormant or you would spray them when the lawn is like growing vigorously and aggressively. In other words, when it's not gonna be affected at all, or when it's super healthy and it's already it's doing really well to where it's also not going to be affected at all, even though it's still actively growing. When it's transitioning, if you spray your lawn with herbicide, you're not going to kill it, because again, Bermuda's, if you use something like Celsius, you're not going to kill it, because Bermuda, again, when you want to kill it, it's kind of hard to. But you are gonna slow it down. So your green up may lag behind by a couple of weeks if you spray it out in the time frame when you really should be spraying it out. So that's the only consideration I'd make, is make sure, one, you want to mow when it's cold out. And then 2, realize that your lawn may lag behind a little bit in the springtime because because you sprayed it, you sprayed herbicide on it when it was coming out of dormancy. That's the only thing I would say. Um, as far as other things, if you're going to use Primo Max, use the rates for cool season grass. If you're going to use that, because for the most part, Bermuda's going to be checking out here pretty soon, and just feed it with the rates for ryegrass, and just enjoy it. Enjoy the stripe action. I will tell you the benefits of doing a rye overseed is it is gorgeous. It looks awesome. Like nothing. I'll say it. I love Bermuda, but I'll admit it. Nothing really stripes like ryegrass. Ryegrass looks incredible when you stripe, especially it's like short, like ryegrass at like 3/4 of an inch, and you're real mowing it. Gorgeous. But I'm not willing to get out there in the cold weather to mow it in order to get that, unfortunately. All right, Zanali is up next. She says, I let my Bermuda lawn get too tall while I was away. I'm in Georgia. Is it too late to scalp it? It's not too late. The question you have to ask yourself, Zanali, is are you okay with your lawn looking ugly for 2 weeks? 2 to 3 weeks. Probably closer to the 3 weeks time frame. Are you okay with that? Because if you are, then there is likely enough time in the season to still do it. But it's not going to be like how it would have been a month, 6 weeks ago, where if you scalped it within 10, 14 days, the lawn's going to be looking good again. Now you're going to tack on another week at least for the lawn to recover from that and start looking nice again. So it's really your call. You have 2 options. Option one is you can simply mow the lawn taller at the current height it's at. So just whatever height it's at, where it might be at, let's say you were at 2 inches before, and now you're at 3 inches. You could have the option just to continue mowing it at 3 inches for the remainder of the season. That's an option. And that's going to preserve the color. It's going to be the least visually, least visually, damaging or ugly. It's not going to be, it's the least eyesore way of going about it, but you're going to have really tall grass. Or you can take the green hit, and then in a few weeks, the lawn's going to look good again. So it just depends on which way you want to go. Then by a few weeks, I mean more closer to 3 weeks. So it's not too late. I mean, we've still got at least a good month, probably 6 weeks of solid growing here in Georgia. But just realize it's just, it would have been better for it to not get too tall in the first place. So it's really your call. It's really your call. Let's see. John Williams says, I hate goosegrass. Does this stuff die in the winter? Yeah, it tends to fall away in the winter, John. The best way to prevent it in your lawn is with pre-emergent. Pre-emergent is the least expensive way to keep goosegrass out of your lawn. If you don't, you end up having to use something like Revolver. And I'm answering this question as if you have warm season grass, which again is more expensive. And that's a common theme, guys. Like pre-emergent might seem like it's expensive or a hassle. And like, why would I go spray this thing on my lawn or or use this granular product on my lawn for something that I can't even see yet? But like a bag of pre-emergent for 60 or 70 bucks is way cheaper than this. Well, it's not going to do well. I think the problem with this is that you start going to need this for sedges. Then this. But then certainly this, like you might be able to get away without Celsius if you have a good pre-emergent program. You still might need certainty for sedges, but you might not even need Celsius if you have a really good pre-emergent program, right? Because a lot of the stuff that it targets, pre-emergent tends to work well for preventing. You know what I mean? So yeah. All right, next up we got Sean Scott. Sean Scott is here. Says, good evening, Ron. Need help with moss. I do live in an area with a lot of trees and shade. Lawn is mostly fine fescue. I've been doing dethatching and starting to notice it more and more. Yeah, so moss likes areas that are shaded and damp. That's what it likes. It also likes soil that is more acidic in nature. So it sounds like your issue is largely the shade, but if it's an area that also water settles or just takes a while to drain, if we can do something about that, that is going to help the moss not be as much of a problem. In addition to that, what you can use is a remedy that Devin told us about. Devin's the guy. He comes in the live stream every now and then, and it says a good way to target moss that's not expensive is a 5-gallon bucket of water and a few ounces, like I think he said 5 ounces, like an ounce per gallon, a few ounces of dish soap. That will knock the moss back. It's not going to get. I mean, the problem with doing that is that it's going to get rid of it temporarily. But the way to get rid of moss for good is to change the conditions that are causing the moss to be a problem in the first place. So you have a really shaded area. If there's anything you can do to reduce the amount of shade, that's going to help the moss. That's going to help. It's going to help you not have moss. And then if you can't do that, then you're just stuck with going after options for like one, keeping the area as dry as you can, and then using like, water and dish soap or a product like Moss X. But it's gonna be a continuous thing. It's not gonna be a one and done type thing, unfortunately. So hope that helps. Maybe in your case, doing the getting limiting the amount of moisture and getting rid of some of the shade might help. But then you got to be careful with that because you got fine fescue, which likes shade, right? So it's always a catch-22, unfortunately. So it sounds like you might be one of these people that are just going to continually be fighting that, unfortunately. And you're saying you're getting ready to aerate and seed. Sounds like a plan. It's the time of year for you guys, for cool season guys. John Williams is back. Says, "Hey Ron, thanks for the show. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys for sticking with me, especially through the crash and everything, right? Can I over apply? Yes. Can I over apply Prediamine? I was thinking about spraying the low rate now and a little more in a couple of weeks to make I want to make sure I keep the weeds out. Okay, so what I would do is, and the first answer to your question is yes, you can over apply Prediamine. You can over apply anything. You can over apply water in your lawn. Too much of anything is not good. So if your plan is to do a split application, which is what it sounds like, what I would say is if you do your application now, I would not do another application in a couple of weeks. What I would do is I would do your application now, let this application ride for a few months, so 2 to 3 months. And then if you want to do another application a few months from now, that is going to give you the best control, the best effectiveness, the best result than doing an application of Prediamine now and doing another application a couple of weeks later. Because like the app you do now is going to still be working a few weeks later. It's more like when you get to like that 3-month time frame, depending on conditions, that it might begin losing its effectiveness. So I would hold off on that second application for a few months down the road, not right now. And again, to revisit the first part of your question is watch your total amount. Like you don't want to be over applying this stuff. Like make sure that you're not exceeding the annual limit, which for warm season grass for Bermuda is like 0.83 ounces annually over a 12-month period. So just keep that in mind whenever you start doing your split applications. Dwayne is back. He says, when spraying Celsius on spurge, how good will it do applying at the lower rate? Still very good. Spurge is not really difficult to kill. It's just difficult. It's a difficult weed to have to like manually weed. Like you can try it, but it's not going to be very effective. But it's, as far as a weed to kill, it's not that hard. It's not like sedge, net sedge can be, or certain Kalinga can be. Like that can be difficult to get rid of if you're using the wrong herbicide. But spurge is not that difficult to get rid of. Like when I've sprayed Celsius on spurge, it like Celsius does to spurge what certainty does to sedges. Like after 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, it's like literally brown and crispy and just it looks like you did like origami with a brown paper bag is what it looks like. It's that dead. It's like dead. So even at a lighter rate, I would still expect you to get a pretty good application, still a good result for against spurge using Celsius. Again, a great product for spurge. Great product. Okay, Powerpuff says, what is a good fall weed killer? Depends on what kind of grass you have. It depends on what weeds you're targeting. For cool season grass, if you're doing spot spraying, tenacity, actually we can just show you. We can go here to the golf course lawn store and we are in the weed killer section. So to get to that Powerpuff, go to, you can't see that because I'm on the split screen right now. Go to golfcourselawn.store right here. That's where I'm going to be showing you here really quick. And when you're there, click on shop and then weed killer. Once you're there, so if you have warm season grass, and again, which weed killer you need depends. Like everything in life, it depends, right? If you have warm season grass, then Celsius or Certainty, either one of these they're both excellent herbicides for warm season grass. They target a broad range of weeds. Like Celsius is very, very good for broadleafs. Certainty is excellent against sedges and poanua. Like it's against those two types of weeds. It's great against other weeds too, but against poa and sedges, excellent product. But it's for warm season grass only. Like this and this, only you have Bermuda, Zoysia, Centipede, St. Augustine, all warm season grasses other than Bahia. These two you can use on. Now, if you have cool season grass, then that's where you're going to want to use something with mesotrione, like tenacity. So this, along with, like say you had sedges, then you could use tenacity along with Halo Select, which is basically Sedgehammer. These two you can use together on cool season grass. I would spot spray with it because Tenacity, even though it's rated as safe for cool season grass, it's still gonna ding it. You're still gonna get some discoloration from it. So Tenacity and Sedgehammer or Halo Select for cool season grass is a good combination that works well. For warm season grass, Celsius and Certainty. But again, it depends on the weeds you are targeting. If the weed in your lawn is Dallas grass, nothing I mentioned is going to work. You're going to have to you have to manually remove it. So it really comes down to the weed. But if you're looking for like dandelions and spurge and like a broad spectrum herbicide that's gonna knock out most stuff in your lawn, for warm season grass, Celsius and Certainty combination, good to go. Cool season grass, Tenacity and Sedgehammer, good to go. But again, match the herbicide you're applying to your lawn to the weed that you're trying to target. That's going to get you the best result versus just blanket just throwing stuff out there and hoping for the best. Chris Hunnigan is here. He says, what is your take on the Jonathan Green original turf type tall fescue versus the Jonathan Green Black Beauty Ultra? I have heard about the Black Beauty Ultra. Like that has come up. That does ring a bell. I can't argue for or against it, Chris, because I've never used either one of them. It's probably fine. Jonathan Green makes good products. I think Behrenbrug is maybe a bit better quality. I mean, I think that as far as like seed goes, Behrenbrug makes a really, really high quality grass seed. But there's people that use especially the Black Beauty Ultra, that one you're talking about. I've heard that one being mentioned with in good light. In other words, people that talk about it, they don't say I used the Black Beauty Ultra and I didn't get good results. My lawn, I spent a bunch of money and didn't germinate. Most people say my lawn looks great after using that. So I could say the Ultra or something from Behrenbrug is going to be just fine. But again, I don't have cool season grass. I've never used any of those personally to be able to tell you like what kind of results you're going to get. But the Ultra, I do recognize that one, and it was spoken of well for the people that talk about it. Next is Carlos Bob. Carlos Bob says, I'm running into an issue with the manual push reel mower where I have to set it to 1 inch, but the grass ends up around 1.5 to 2 inches. Since the Bermuda is so thick, I think it's gliding over the grass. Thoughts? Yeah, so that's a problem you're going to run into, Carlos. As Bermuda gets thicker, so as a byproduct of you mowing it regularly, it's going to start thickening up and becoming really dense. And especially with a mower like a manual push mower that doesn't have the weight to it, the mower is going to start to float over the lawn instead of really cutting it. You know what I mean? And what you're going to start finding too is the quality of cut is going to begin to suffer. You're going to start getting an effect called washboarding, where you see like these like ridges, these ripples in the lawn. Looks almost like a washboard, hence the name washboarding. You start seeing that kind of stuff too. So the way to get around that, unfortunately, unless you have a way to scalp the lawn to kind of thin the lawn out, it's going to be really difficult to get around that. So scalping or verticutting, those are strategies or things you can do that will help with the situation you're describing, because really the lawn just needs to be thinned out for you to restore the quality of cut that you were getting earlier in the season. So I know it's more work. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, but at least you know what's going on now. It's really not uncommon. The same thing happens with powered reel mowers. So it's not only a push reel mower thing. It is worse with a push reel mower. You're going to see it sooner with a push reel mower, but a powered reel mower, if you are mowing your lawn every couple of days with a powered reel mower and you don't do anything to thin it out throughout the season, when late July, early August timeframe rolls around, you're going to start having some cutting issues, scalping issues, perhaps even some washboarding. So the Bermuda benefits from being thinned out, if you can, every 4 to 6 weeks, but at least once during the season, during the actively growing season. Hope that helps, sir. And good job on reel mowing, man. Good job of getting out there with a push reel mower and getting it done. I like it. Rio Patel has a comment about the moss issue. He says, whenever I see moss building on the lawn, I am watering too much. Thank you for going live every Friday. Yeah, so that's the thing I'm saying, man. It's with moss, a lot of it is conditions. So the one thing I also didn't mention, I may have mentioned it, but is if a moss likes wet soil or really damp areas, it likes shaded areas, it doesn't like a lot of sunlight, and it prefers acidic soil, so soil with lower pH. So you can also check to see, get a soil test done and see where your pH is. But based on the description or what he's describing, it sounds like a combination of moisture and shade to me. But yeah, I'm with you, Rio. Like anything else, like the question about can too much prediamine be a bad thing? Too much water can be a bad thing. It causes problems in your lawn. Too much of anything can cause problems in your lawn. Too much mowing, believe it or not, can cause problems in your lawn. Not necessarily you're not going to kill it, but as far as like wear problems, you have to start, that's why you got to start mowing in different directions. You don't have like issues where you're starting to cause discoloration because you're just putting too much wear and tear on the lawn. You know what I mean? So too much of anything is not good. Too much of anything. Let's see. Andrew Ronco's chiming in. He says, I love the Jonathan Green Black Beauty and the Panther KBG. So there you go. So someone that's actually used it, they are putting a notch, a check mark in the Black Beauty column. So there you go. For someone that's actually used it, they seem to like it. And that's the thing. I don't have direct experience with it, but Black Beauty is always mentioned in a good light whenever I do hear it. So that could be an option for you as well. I don't know what the price difference is between that and the seeds from Behrenbrug, but it's worth giving a look if you're in the market for seed. Rio says, I'm also doing an overseed with 75% rye and 25% Kentucky bluegrass from Jonathan Green to have a more dense lawn. So it sounds like that's one thing with you cool season guys. You guys tend to do blends more so with us. Then with us, we tend to try and have one type of grass on our lawn for the most part. Whereas with cool season grass, it seems like more of a strategy where blending Kentucky bluegrass and ryegrass is a lot more commonplace. Jason Sewell says, would it be okay to scalp when the grass goes dormant? I wouldn't. Reason being is that, you're scalping to really prepare the lawn for new growth whenever the next season, as a way to start out the next growing season. If the benefit, like some of the questions I often get is like, hey, do you raise your height of cut up during the winter months? Because that little thicker grass, having the grass be a little bit taller, does act as a bit of an insulator to protect the root zone. It does help protect the grass a bit if you have from winter weather, right? So in my situation where I live, again, everything is, there's always a depends, there's always a caveat. We have mild winters. We don't have very extreme winters. So me leaving my grass at 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch is just fine. The grass gets through it just fine. Springtime rolls around, grass grows through and looks great. But I would not scalp a lawn that's going into dormancy because literally you're taking off that insulating blanket at a time when the grass is not going to start growing really again for several months. If you scalp in, let's say, November, the grass is not going to start growing again until late February, early March, really at best. So wait until you're moving into the time period where you're getting closer to that scalping, to the lawn coming out of dormancy before you do that. So the earliest I would scalp a lawn, Jason, would be earliest be like late January, early February. Like when I do my lawn, I tend to do it in phases because it's just so much to take to cut at one time. I tend to do like a pre-scalp in like early February timeframe, and then my main scalp in March. It's like a pre-scalp in Feb, and like the main aggressive one in March. And that's because again, in Georgia where I am, it's not in February. It's not really terribly cold, and then we're starting to get to the point where the lawn is beginning to warm up. You know what I mean? If you want to wait till March to do your scalp, that's fine too. But in general, you want to do it when you're going into the time frame whenever the grass is beginning to grow aggressively. It's almost like if you asked me, would I recommend dethatching a cool season lawn in the middle of summer? No, for the same reason. The grass isn't growing well. You're introducing a bunch of stress to a time when it's not really in a position to recover from it. You're scalping the lawn in a position when the grass is not really going to start growing anytime soon. You know what I mean? So in other words, only bad things can happen by doing that. There's nothing good that's going to come out of it. So just, in other words, scalping in November is the same thing as, or is not going to produce any better results than if you waited to scalp in late February. You're going to get the same result. The only problem is you may actually cause some damage if you live in a part of the country where you get more extreme winters and you damage some of the Bermuda grass. If you get like a super really aggressive cold snap and it damages the lawn, that's something that could come from an aggressive scalp going into dormancy. So I would not do that. Not an aggressive one anyway. So Jason says, I'm currently cutting at 1.5 inches with my Honda. I'll have to take it down to 1 inch in preparation for the spring. Plan on buying my first real mower at the beginning of the year. So you could, my lawn, again, still, I'm cutting my lawn shorter than you are. And in my case, my lawn tolerates being cut shorter with no problem into the winter months, no issue at all. I would still wait. If you've been at 1.5 inches all season, just wait and just do your pre-scalp, like say in early February. Just getting the lawn ready for the real mower in the springtime. Start in mid-February. Just do it over a period of mows when you're trending closer to more towards warm weather versus trending towards cold weather. Does that make sense? Again, it's not going to make a difference, but a huge difference. It's not going to make a negative impact to the lawn greening up next spring, but you could have a negative outcome if you scalped and we got really cold weather and your grass isn't used to being at a lower height of cut. So I would still wait, man. Just do your pre-scalp in February and slowly work your way down until you get to the height you want to be at by March-ish time frame. Great question. Great question. Doug 350Z twin turbo, I'm guessing TT, is up next. So you 3 turbo, because 350Zs didn't come turbocharged. You must have did a kit afterwards, an aftermarket turbo kit. He's okay. I think that's what your avatar means. That's what comes to mind. Anyway, he says, hi Ron. Hi, like Dwayne, I'm taking the overseeding plunge on rye Bermuda. You know what? Here's the thing. All you guys overseeding your lawn with rye, you got to stick around, because come March time frame, I want to hear, we got to find out, was it worth it? Did you like the results? All that kind of stuff. So all you guys are doing that, don't disappear on me whenever like spring next year rolls around. He says, the Scott's starter fertilizer with pre-emergent is not for Bermuda. Can I still use it? No. I mean, I grew up in the Caribbean too. No, you shouldn't. No, couple things. If you are going to overseed your lawn, do not put down pre-emergent, because you're working against yourself. Your strategy for controlling weeds in the winter is going to be with post-emergent herbicide. Because if you put down pre-emergent in like next month in September, you're not going to get very good germination from your overseeding. So that's thing one. And then if whatever is in that weed and feed product, the Scott's fertilizer with pre-emergent that's not labeled as safe for Bermuda, I would not apply that to your Bermuda lawn, because your lawn is primarily Bermuda. Like the ryegrass is just like it's a visitor, it's a guest, it's just checking in the hotel for a few months. But I don't want to do anything that's going to injure the person that actually lives there, which is the Bermuda grass. So I would not use two things. A starter fertilizer, sure, that's going to be fine to help the grass establish once it begins germinating. But no pre-emergent, and definitely no products that are labeled as not safe for Bermuda, because Bermuda is what you're going to have to live with next year. Does that make sense? So I hope that helps. If you plan to overseed, by all means, I wish you well, but just realize that you're going to be treating weeds with post-emergence for the most part. Don't put down a pre-emergent like next month if you want it. If you want the overseed to actually take, don't put down pre-emergent. Ryo Patel says, is it okay to use Jonathan Green Magic Howl without doing a soil test? Not unless you know that your soil is either acidic or alkaline, because here's the thing, Rio, I'll show you here. The products from there's two specific ones, right? So if you look here, the purple bag is for soils that are more alkaline. It helps to lower soil pH. The black bag is for lawns with low pH to help raise it. So they both serve specific purposes, and the only way you're going to know which one is correct for your lawn is by getting a soil test done. So the soil test is going to say, I mean, again, that's I don't really talk about that enough, but really one of the biggest benefits of a soil test is not to tell you what fertilizer to put down. Like, that's definitely a plus, but soil pH is hugely important to getting the most out of your macro fertilizer applications and the micronutrient fertilizer applications. Like, the thing that when someone tells me a soil test, the very first thing I look at is the soil pH. I'm like, okay, the pH looks good. Everything else we can fix relatively easy, because pH can literally take a long time. Like, we're talking about months, years to correct. So if the pH is where it needs to be for the most part, we're good. Everything else can be fixed relatively easy. The Magic Howl product, I would not just go out and just buy one, because you don't know which one is the correct one to buy. You know what I mean? So get a soil test. Again, these guys they're not that expensive. Get one, get a test done. They are the results are very easy to understand, to interpret. You're going to get your results via email within a week, and then it's going to let you know whether or not you need to lower your pH, whether you need to raise your pH, or maybe your pH is already great and you don't need anything. That could be an option too. And once you get your soil test results back, if you need help interpreting it, hit me up, ron@golfcourselawn.com. Send me a good clear picture of the soil test results, and I'll do my best to help you out. You know what I mean? So you got coverage either way. You can email me, and but even then, the MySoil results are very easy to interpret, which is why I am such a huge fan. Anybody can read it and really understand what you're supposed to do to your lawn. So hope that helps, Rio. I would not just apply either one of those products without knowing that you actually need it, because you actually might be working against yourself. How did I get into lawn care? TK says. So many moons ago, 8 years ago almost at this point, I slowly started turning into my dad. So what happened is I, just moved in here. The lawn had tons of potential. And I just never really, I just never really liked the way the lawn looked whenever it was just being cut with a rotary mower. And then one day so I started doing research and I said, okay, I got to cut with a real mower. I got to get it, real mowers was the thing that you need to use to get a better looking lawn, to get that golf course lawn look. So I cut the lawn for 2 seasons, believe it or not, 12,000 square feet at the time with a push reel mower. Insanity, I know. And it just kind of snowballed from there, because what happened was, my neighbor, whose house you guys can see, like where the trees are, like the brick house that's behind me, one day he was out mowing his front lawn with a true cut, and he said, man, your lawn looks incredible. I'm out there push reel mowing, and I would love to get my lawn look like this. He says, well, you really got to go to a powered reel mower. And then he did the thing, that really set everything in motion. He said, you know what? I got this true cut. Why don't you just borrow it? Take it home. Try it out. You don't like it, bring it back, but just try it out, see what you think. And that led to where we are now, with all the mowers and everything else. So it was a process that kind of ramped up over time. As far as the knowledge of fertilizer, herbicides, just in general, all that is the way. If anyone knows my personality, when I get into something, I really get into it. And because I started documenting like a lot of what I was doing on YouTube and started getting questions, I wanted to be able to be useful and give quality answers. So that's where I took on a journey of a lot of self-study and made friends with several people that actually work in industry that were kind enough to share a lot of their knowledge with me. And that is, if you take that and you fast forward several years, like many, many years, again, what you see now is started like 8 years ago. So what you see, this is not like you may only have discovered me now, TK, but if you go back and look at my other content that goes back like many, many years, I've been doing this for a while, and it's just like anything else. If you really care about something, you should get better at it over time. Otherwise you probably really don't care about it. Right. So that's it. That's the story in a very short, condensed form. We got a super chat. We got it from Doug with the twin turbo. Appreciate it.
Super chat.
He says, thanks for the info on Scott's. Information is always priceless. You're very, very welcome, sir. I appreciate you taking some time out of your Friday evening to come hang out in the live stream. Now, the worst part about whenever I find a super chat, I got to go back and find where I was. Russ C is up next. He says, happy Friday, all. What's a good product to put down over the fall and winter to improve soil quality in prep for the next season? Eastern North Carolina, Tiffany 419, Carbon Pro G. Yeah, Carbon Pro G. If you got a Site 1 nearby and you can get it, by all means, Carbon Pro G is an excellent product. Another option is Essential G. If you don't have a Site 1 nearby, or you just feel like supporting the store, then you can get Essential G. This is the newer formulation of Carbon Pro G. It is made by Miramichi Green. So both Carbon Pro G, Essential G, both made by Miramichi. Both contain biochar. Both contain compost. This also contains humate and silicon and reclaimed coffee grounds. It's a bit more. There's a bit more in it, but they're both excellent products. You're both going to get a great result as far as increasing the amount of organic matter in your soil in a way that's really easy to put down. You can't go wrong with either one. Essential G is what I've been using for the past, we're coming to the end of this season, so now for 2 seasons, and been loving the results I've been getting from it. Other viewers have been using it too, and they've also been saying they've been getting great results as well. So whichever one you can get your hands on easier is what I would use. And the only rule really for applying it, Rusty, is I apply this product to my lawn. I've applied it every year since the summer of 2020, whenever the lawn was not frozen. So I did Carbon Pro G for most of 2020 into 2021. Last year I switched to Carbon Pro. I switched to Essential G, and I've been using that for that last season and this season. But the only rule really, and it's rule for any kind of granular product, really, if the ground is frozen, you don't want to apply a granular product. You don't really want to apply anything to your lawn if the ground's frozen, but definitely anything that's supposed to get in the soil to work. If the ground's frozen, no, don't apply this. With you being in Eastern North Carolina, that really shouldn't be an issue, at least not for a big part of the year. So for the most part, you're going to be able to get away with applying it every month if you wanted to. Hope that helps, sir. And if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. When John Williams is back, he says, when that time comes and winter sets in, what kind of products should I put down to improve my centipede lawn in Savannah? Trying to get ahead of the game. Essential G. The thing that I would say as far as something you can do every month on your lawn, again, as long as the ground's not frozen, that's going to help. It's like an investment in your soil, is this stuff. You can apply this literally every single month of the year if you wanted to, as long as again, you don't have like frozen ground. And that's going to help you get ahead of the game. So that's something you can do every single month. Is going to help improve the quality of your lawn, because it's going to help improve the quality of your soil. And remember, great grass is a byproduct of great soil, right? So we're just making the thing that we have to get as good as possible, as good as we can make it. And then great grass is a byproduct of that. Alondra Pacheco is up next. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. It says, what is good for doveweed on warm season grass? I'm getting a lot of it this month. So you got a couple different products. So you can, I believe that if you want to go basic, I believe that Spectricide will work, but also Celsius is also labeled for doveweed. I believe that's correct. I'm going to check here really quick and make sure I'm not giving you bad info. Pretty sure that it is. Yeah, it's yeah. So doveweed is good. Celsius is a great product for against doveweed. It depends on which way you want to go, Alondra, and how comfortable you are about spraying a herbicide, like mixing up a chemical and spraying it on your lawn. So go to the golf course lawn store. Like, so if you go, you'll be right here. It'll look like this when you first land there. There's also a link that's pinned as a comment to the top of the chat. Click on shop and then go to weed killer. And then what you can do is you get Celsius, like this product, along with a surfactant. These two together will do a great job against doveweed. It's a more expensive option, but it's also a very, very good herbicide in the sense that it not only is going to kill doveweed, but it covers a broad range of common weeds that are in your Bermuda. It's going to be more expensive, but I mean, literally, you're going to buy this bottle and it's going to last you for years. You're not going to go through this very quickly. So that is like the best option. A less expensive option, not as good, but is going to be to use Spectricide. If I can find where I was. Yep. So if we go to Spectricide and you look at, where are you? You didn't say where you are in the country, but it says warm season grass. So I'm assuming Georgia. So you got a couple options. This will work well, like the orange bottle. The thing is, to apply this, all you really need is a hose end sprayer, which makes it easier, right? You don't have to mix it, nothing to do. Just touch your hose end sprayer, make a pass, and then you're good to go. So this is a less expensive way, an easier way to try and go after the doveweed. But really Celsius is going to be, but this is not going to be as effective as using something like Celsius, to be completely honest. But it depends on your comfort level. Celsius, if you're asking me if I had to get rid of doveweed in my lawn, what would I use? I would use Celsius. I would not use Spectricide. But it's an option if you want something that after multiple applications, could have an effect. So hope that helps. If you have any other questions, let me know. But again, Celsius is really what I would lean towards. Jason says, thank you for your show and taking the time to teach and spread your knowledge. I appreciate you guys watching, Jason. Without you guys doing that, I wouldn't be here. And the next is Devin Avery. It says, what would you recommend as a soil additive for clay soil? Soil additive should do what? Depends on what you're trying to do, Devin. So, if you're trying to improve the quality of the soil, like you're trying to introduce more organic material, then I would say Essential G. Essential G is going to be what you're going to want to go after, and that would be the recommended. Essential G is something you can do if your main goal is to improve the quality of the soil, like improve the organic material. If you have like a compacted clay soil, what I would say is there's a couple of additives you can use, but really the best thing is going to go out and do like a hollow tine aeration. So not now, but whenever, well, depends on where you are in the country. If you have cool season grass, you could do it now. But say you were my neighbor and you were in Georgia, hollow tine aeration, like core aeration, is, in my opinion, the best way to relieve compaction in a lawn. There are products that you could that some people will sell that are labeled as liquid aeration, but they're not nearly as effective as like literally like punching holes, like making like literally knocking holes in the soil and pulling the cores out. Because if you think about it, right? If you just think about this with me, if you are your soil is very compacted, when you use a tool like a core aerator and remove cores, you're opening up voids, like little holes, all throughout the lawn. That gives the existing lawn a place to relax into. There's all this open space, so the areas that are really compacted can relax a bit, and that's going to help relieve compaction. So the best way to relieve compaction is to core aerate your lawn. So if the additive is about hard, an additive for hard clay soil to help relieve compaction in hard clay soil, there's not really one that I'm going to really recommend outside of like core aeration. I just don't think that they're going to produce a measurable result compared to the results you're going to get from aerating. And even if you don't want to do it yourself, because it is a lot of work, you can pay someone to do it. It's worth it if you're dealing with highly compacted soil. So hope that helps, Devin. There's nothing else I would recommend outside of doing that. Daniel B says, Jonathan Green's Magical purple bag is excellent stuff for high pH and compaction. I've used it to lower pH. Good stuff. Would recommend it. So you've used nothing but that, and by applying that, you got like if the compaction in your lawn was reduced, Daniel. I have not seen that myself, but I mean I'll take your word for it. So if you want to try something, Devin, that really is just going to cost you a bag of product. I mean, I think it's like $40 or whatever it is. You can try that, but it's not going to be as good as core aerating your lawn. Like if you want to really, really relieve compaction in a lawn, aerating is, in my opinion, the best way to go. Like products that do it, well, I mean, they can help like soil looseners and that type of thing. They can help some, but they're not going to be nearly as good as core aeration. Mike C says, how soon can I mow my new perennial ryegrass low? Once it needs to be established, Mike. So once it's established well, so I've never grown a ryegrass lawn to be able to tell you for sure, but I'd say that once the grass is fully established, when you look throughout the lawn, it's all grass. It's not like you still got areas that are trying to grow in. Then you can begin working or taking your height of cut down over time. So assuming the ryegrass you use is one that will tolerate being cut short, just begin stepping it down over time once it is grown in and it's established. Meaning that when you're looking at it, it doesn't look like a patchy lawn. It looks like a fully established lawn, albeit with the grass taller than you might want. You know what I mean? So just big thing is take it down over time, because with grass, kind of like with a haircut, you can't put it back on after you take it off. And just if you work your way down over a couple of weeks, slowly lowering the height of cut, you're going to see how the grass is tolerating it versus say going from say 2 inches, if you let it get to that when it first starts growing in, down to like 3/4 of an inch all in one go. That might be a bit much. So if you just step it down over time, you're able to observe how the grass is responding to being cut shorter. Zanelli is back. She says, do you suggest putting zoysia grass on the shaded area of the side of a house? The Bermuda on the side is thin and half green, half brown. Yeah, so zoysia is more shade tolerant than the Bermuda. If the area has Bermuda and the Bermuda is even trying to grow a little bit, so if it's like completely barren, where there's no Bermuda at all and it's not doing anything, which sounds like that's not the case for you. So it sounds like it's trying to grow, but it's just kind of in between. That could be a good candidate for zoysia, because zoysia needs less sunlight than Bermuda. So if the Bermuda is trying to grow there, but it's struggling, and it's hating life, zoysia would probably do well in that location. Now, if it's like scorched earth, where it's like all just bare dirt, and you're getting like 3 or 4 hours of sunlight every day, zoysia, even that is going to probably struggle in those conditions. So, but based on the fact that you said there's Bermuda there, but it's really thin and it's kind of half green, half brown, it's not doing well, it just kind of looks like it's not, there's not enough sunlight for it to really go, that's a good candidate for zoysia. Here's the thing to keep in mind. The zoysia is not just going to stay in that location. So if you're going to do this, ideally you want the zoysia to be, you want to do this in an area where you're not going to be able to see the zoysia and the Bermuda at the same time, because they do look really different. That's one thing you want to keep in mind, is it's not like the zoysia is only going to grow to like the area where the Bermuda stopped growing. You know what I mean? It's going to try and start spreading and moving into the Bermuda, where you might end up with like a zoysia Bermuda lawn in that area. So there's something to keep in mind before you start introducing another grass. It's not going to just stay put in that one section. So there's something to keep in mind. The one thing with that is, though, with zoysia is a very slow growing grass. So it's going to happen. It's going to take a period of time for it to happen, but it likely will happen and start moving into the Bermuda, because it's going to be moving towards where there's even more sunlight. You know what I mean? So just something to keep in mind before you start putting the Zoysia in. Be prepared that it's not going to just stay in that one spot. Steve Jackson says, I was told scalping a dormant lawn will kill the edge on your reel. Have you experienced this? Thanks. Thinking of scalping instead, of scarifying instead. Thoughts? Yeah. So scalping, it doesn't matter. Scalping any lawn, dormant or not dormant, is harder on the reel. The thing with, if you're scalping and if you're doing how some people do it very aggressively, right, where you're going just right below the surface of like the dirt. They say you're taking it right down the dirt. If you're doing that aggressively, then yeah, it's going to dull the reel and bed knife because you are getting into like some of the dirt when you're going that aggressively. So that is, but the same thing can happen if you decide to scalp your lawn in the middle of summer and you're doing it super crazy aggressively. So it's not really so much a function of the fact that it's dormant. It's more that you are doing it, you're getting really low and you're cutting, you're not only cutting grass, you're getting into like some of the thatch area that may have built up over time. So it's just, that's what's causing it to get dull. What I would do, Steve, is if you want to scalp, because scalping, I'm a big fan of doing it, especially in the beginning of the year to kind of set the lawn up for the season, is I would do that prior to sending the mower in for sharpening, because really, a real mower does need to be sharpened about once a year. It needs a freshening up once a year, once per season. So what I would do is like once you're done with this season, if the mower's still nice and sharp, go ahead and do your scalp at the beginning of or at the beginning of the season for next year. So late February, March timeframe. Then take the mower in, get it sharpened, and then you're good to go for that mowing season. You know what I mean? So it's not like if you scalp a lawn that's not dormant, it's hard on the equipment. It's hard because you're taking a lot of material off all at one time. And if you're doing it aggressively, you're getting into thatch, you're getting into the dirt, and that's what's really causing the reel to get dull. You know what I mean? So hope that helps. I'm still a fan of doing it, but I also sharpen my equipment at least once per season. So there is that. Thurston R says, hey, Ron, regarding cool season grass, GCI turf is good quality seed. I overseed with their cool blue turf type tall fescue and Kentucky bluegrass seed in my lawn. Has never looked better. So there you go. There's another option as well for cool season grass seed. Doug says, yep, twin turbo. Oh, username, still twin turbo coyote, twin turbo now. So you got a Mustang and you twin turboed it now, huh? That's cool. Using Behrenbrug annual rye with a SOS Max. They claim it'll be easier to get rid of from the overseeding. Okay, cool. Well, keep me posted on how that goes for sure, but definitely spray it, get rid of it, because it's going to be, you don't want to leave the ryegrass and Bermuda together into like the late spring and summer months. It's going to look ugly. You're not going to like how that looks. So definitely get rid of it in the spring once the time comes. No Name says, hey, Ron, it's been a busy summer. Thank you for all the extra content. No questions tonight. Just wanted everyone to touch that like button. Yeah, guys. I mean, if you guys are still hanging around, if you enjoyed the show tonight, if you've not hit that like button, it's a great way to support the channel. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And I would really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate it if you guys would not mind doing that right now. If you're going to hit the dislike button, hit it twice. All right. Chris Hinnigan is back. He says, have you thought of placing mulch beds in front of your lawn, sides, driveway, etc.? I would place this gazebo and a huge patio in your backyard. What's your take? Here's the thing. If I have mulch beds in the front of the lawn, like where the grass is, like where the mulch beds are, there can be no grass. And I really like my grass. So I don't want to put like mulch in where the grass is, because then I don't have grass in that section. That's a bad plan. Plus, mulch beds are kind of messy, man. Like if you gotta be careful about, one, you gotta refill them all the time. When you're edging and blowing, you gotta make sure you don't blow mulch into the grass and the real mower runs over it and it's like not good for it. Just more work. And then a gazebo, now I'm literally putting something back there that is going to introduce shade. Bad. No, I can't do that. I mean, I had people also tell me, hey, your back lawn would be perfect for a pool, like a nice pavilion in a pool. I'm like, yeah, that would be cool for other people if how we're not like obsessed with like grass, but no. So all jokes aside, Chris, it's just the way I look at that as a mulch bed is like more work, and a gazebo is also more work, and it's going to, make my grass not grow as well, because now I have another thing that I'm putting out there that I got to edge around. At a minimum, even if it doesn't kill the grass, I've got to edge around it, which is like another step that I got to do every few times I mow, right? So there is that. Ignacio Paez says, currently using the purple bag from Jonathan Green based on the soil test, along with the apps of carbonized PN. Interested in seeing how pH will change over a season, testing on an annual basis. Yeah, we'll just keep up with it, keep applying what you're doing, and then measure it and see how things are trending. That sounds like a great plan to me, Ignacio. Sounds like a great plan. Edwin O's in the house. He says, "Evening, everyone. Considering tilling my front yard, 2,000 square feet, to either do a seed, Tifway, or celebration. Have St. Augustine and common Bermuda mix. What's a good seed? Where to buy? I have celebration in the backyard. Any experience with Tifway?" So what I would say is this: if you have 2,000 square feet, which is not a huge area to have to do, what I would do is, if you're trying to get rid of your existing lawn, so you want to change, you want to do a renovation. What I would do is I would burn down the existing lawn you have. So get out there with some glyphosate, and if it's like, what do you have? You said you have a either do seed, Tifway, okay. So I don't know what it is, but if you have, but let's say you had so it's a St. Augustine and Bermuda mix. Okay, so get out there with like with I'm not sure if Fungicide will target St. Augustine, but glyphosate will. So get out there with like Fungicide and glyphosate, and like get rid of the existing grass. So burn down the St. Augustine and common Bermuda combination. Don't go through the headache of tilling and trying to grow the grass from seed. Just sod it. You know what I mean? Because 2,000 square feet is not going to be crazy expensive to sod. And you're going to be able to get celebration if you want. You're going to be able to get Tifway if you want. You're going to be able to get Tahoma 31 if you want. And literally what will happen is, in one day, whenever you get it installed, unless you're doing it yourself, if you have someone to come do it, they'll come out there, and then after a day of them being out there doing all the hard work, you're going to have grass. You know what I mean? It's going to be a lot less work. You're going to get your results faster, and it's just going to be more even. It's going to look better. So I would, for only 2,000 square feet, I would kill the existing lawn and just put sod down. That's would be my thing. Seed really makes sense if you have a really, really big area where sod is just like cost prohibitive to do. Again, unless you're like a sports field and they have got more money than they know what to do with, and they can afford it. If you have a large property, that's where seed can somewhat be easier, because it's less expensive, unless you won't factor in the water, than sod. But for 2,000 square feet, man, I wouldn't bother with tilling and putting seed in. I would literally I would kill off the existing grass and then just put the sod for the Bermuda type that you want in, and sit back with a nice cold lemonade and enjoy life. That is what I would do. Zanali says, "I had the best looking lawn in the neighborhood." I like it. It's good. "My neighbors have started asking for my help because their lawns suck. I have 3 customers now in this newfound business. I don't know how to charge." Well, I don't know if you had, what I would do is this. Are you doing it for them, or are you just telling them what to do? Because really, if you're going to go spray lawns, and you're doing it, really, if you're doing it professionally, really you need to be licensed to do that. You shouldn't be out like spraying a bunch of people. If you're doing as a neighbor for your a favor for your neighbors, that's fine. But if you're actually gonna get like a business, we're gonna get out there and you're gonna be spraying people's lawns and everything, you really should get licensed. You need to be licensed. So there is that. How much to charge? I don't know. It depends what you're doing. So we'll just fast forward and say, now we've gotten Zanali's lawn care service. We will guarantee we bring golf course lawns to you. That's what we're going to be doing. That's your tagline. It depends. It depends on if you are doing like a complete program, which would mean, in my mind, would involve pre-emergent, spring and fall, and then fertilization, depending on what they're willing to pay, at least every 6 weeks. And that, depending on what they're, because really, if they're trying to get the look that you have, you need to help let them know. Again, I'm assuming you're going to start like a little business doing this. You need to let them know that to get the look that you have, they have to do the same program that you're doing. So if you're going to do like a True Green or some of the bigger services are doing, where they come out there every couple of months, only several apps per year, then that's not what you're doing. So they're not going to get the same results you're getting. So you should bill yourself as more of a boutique offering, because you got 3 customers so far, and just say, hey, listen, if you want what I'm doing, you gotta, it's gonna take more, it's gonna be more expensive, but then you get my result. But again, if you're gonna go through all that sort of business doing it, and you're gonna be spraying products on people's lawns, especially for money, you definitely need to go out and get licensed. That would be my thing. And then how much to charge? I don't know. How much is your time worth? Because you got to price the products and you have to price your time. So it depends. And what you might find is not actually worth it to do it yourself. It might be easier. Just to give them advice, just to give them tips, and just say, hey, go do it yourself, or maybe put together a calendar or something, whatever you want to do, and then maybe sell that to them and then have them do all their own work, because it's a lot of work to treat lawns, man. It's a lot of work to treat lawns, especially the way that I do it. You know what I mean? Like what I do is not really, it's not easily scalable across hundreds of lawns if you're a lawn care service, unless you're catering to people that have a lot of money, because it's expensive. You're gonna be out there every month doing stuff, and and just the way those businesses work, it just doesn't work. You know, just the money. I mean, most people are not gonna be willing to pay what it costs. So hopefully that helps. Zenali, congrats on having the best lawn in your neighborhood and being to the point where people are coming to you and asking you to recreate the same results on their lawns, which is pretty awesome. It's a good problem to have. And if I can help with anything else, definitely let me know. We got someone from Hawaii, it looks like. Raymond Pareto says, Aloha, Ron. This nutsedge and crabgrass are popping up and I need to address them with image. Hopefully it works. Will I still be able to apply pre-emergent later this fall or next spring? So for crabgrass, you want to be using you want to be using quinclorac if you want to get rid of the crabgrass, Raymond. And then for nutsedge, image can work, but it's going to be slow. When I mean slow, I mean like 3 weeks slow to start seeing results. Like the best product for you can tell me what kind of grass you have. But if you assume you have warm season grass, which I'm guessing you do, because it sounds like you're in Hawaii. You said you have Bermuda. Yeah. Also, what kind of winter grass for Bermuda lawn? Okay. So if you have Bermuda lawn and you're trying to get rid of sedges and crabgrass, for the sedges, use Certainty. Use this. This is the product you need to use for sedges and Bermuda lawns. This will get rid of it. We carry it on the golf course lawn store. Get this with surfactant. Sedges will go away. This will fix your sedge problem. As far as the crabgrass, that is where quinclorac is going to work. You know, that's a different product. I'll put a link in the chat for you. Here's the thing, though. Quinclorac is one of the best products for taking care of crabgrass, but even it works better against young crabgrass. So we are like late in this growing season. So you might find it may take a couple of applications of quinclorac to knock out the crabgrass you got in your lawn now. It's like kind of like with problems in life in general. It's better to prevent them before they become big problems. Like quinclorac works even better if you're talking about taking care of crabgrass in like, April, May time frame versus taking care of crabgrass in like July, August time frame. You know what I mean? It's going to work better then. It's still going to be effective, but it might take more than one application to get a good result this time of year. For the sedges, Certainty. Doesn't really matter what time of year you use it. It's gonna absolutely decimate sedges. It's really good stuff. And if you have POA in the cooler months, then Certainty is really good for that too. So here's a link for the quinclorac, and for the Certainty, you can get that on the golf course lawn store. I'll give you a link to that as well. It's right here under the weed killers section, right there. So there you go, all good to go. And then yes, absolutely apply pre-emergent. Apply pre-emergent this fall and again in the spring. That will make it to where you're going to have to deal with. You probably still have to deal with sedges, but with crabgrass will become a lot less of a problem if you use pre-emergent in your lawn. Like that's one of the best reasons to use pre-emergent is to keep crabgrass out of your lawn. So sedges probably still going to be an issue, but not so much for the crabgrass if you use pre-emergent. So hope that helps, sir. If you need anything else, let me know. Ben says, is it too late to core aerate in North Georgia? It's a bit late for me, Ben. I wouldn't this time of year. I mean, you're at the point where the lawn is beginning to slow down as far as growth goes. It's a bit late. If you really want to, you can, but it's going to be a while to recover. So it's kind of like the same question I get as far as people asking, should I still, can I scalp my lawn? Can I do like a how to cut reset now? Could you? Yes. Is the lawn going to like live through it? Yes. The thing you have to ask yourself is it, I mean, are you going to like how the lawn looks for the time it's going to take for it to recover? Because it's going to be longer than if you do an aeration in like May, June timeframe. You know what I mean? So it really depends on you. Really depends on you. Steve Jackson's also saying to use gypsum. Yep, I've heard using gypsum as well. So aerate and add pelletized gypsum. We have clay soil here in Oklahoma. There you go. I appreciate that, Steve. And then I wonder if it's the same Steve Jackson from the Facebook group. So I know Steve Jackson's in the Facebook group, but it might be someone different. Not sure. All right. Next up is Greg Leon. He says, good evening. I got to start talking faster. It's almost 11 o'clock, guys. Wow. My Bermuda is finally starting to pick up after the leveling job. what type of fertilizer should I put down at this point? Get a soil test, Greg, and pick your fertilizer based on what your soil test results say. That is what I would suggest. So it's either going to be a starter fertilizer, assuming you need phosphorus, or something like Flagship, which is a 2406, which is a great product if you don't need phosphorus in your soil. So either one of those will be good to go. But a soil test is really going to tell you like exactly what you should be using. You know what I mean? So hope that helps, sir. And next up is Half. Says, hey Ron, how's it going, my brother? I'm doing well. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for coming to hang out, sir. I appreciate it. You said the overseed stuff is for other people's lawns. Looks nasty. Have fun. I hope it turns out well. That's the thing, man. I've seen lawns. The problem with overseeding for me is the transition out of it is a problem. I've seen lawns that are overseeded, or even sports fields that get overseeded, and they look great. They look amazing. You know what I mean? But when that time has passed and it's time to get rid of it, like when you're trying to get the Bermuda back, that is when it gets kind of bumpy. That's how it gets kind of bumpy. Half says, how do you submit questions? Just like how you do it now. Just type it in the comments. I'm just working through, like you just came in the live stream, so I'm just working through them as in the order they come in. All right, we got Autumn. What's going on, Ott? Hey, sweetheart. Autumn coming to came say hi. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming to say hi. Hopefully everything is going well with you, little brat. And then next is Benjamin Kane, who says, best pre-emergent, especially for Poanua on hybrid Bermuda grass. Best pre-emergent for Bermuda, for hybrid Bermuda? Like you said best. I mean, so you said best. That means I don't have to, like, there's not a dollar limit. The best, in my opinion, for POA on Bermuda is Spectacle Flow. This is the stuff. This is the bee's knees. You apply this one time, and this is going to keep POA out of your lawn through until springtime. Great product. This is about as good as, in my opinion, about as good as it gets as far as pre-emergent for warm season grass, especially if POA is what you're trying to keep away. The only downside to it is it's expensive. It's the only downside. Like most of you knew that was going to be the answer, right, Benjamin? Like anything that's really, really good and works really well, they are proud of it, right? So you're gonna expect to pay. When I checked last week, Spectacle Flow was like $300 on Amazon. I'm not sure what the price is this week. Yes, it's back up. So last week it went down to $300 for a bottle, and now it's back up to what it was a few weeks before that, which was like $340. So it's not inexpensive. And the problem here's the one challenge with it is it takes a tiny amount, a very small amount, and goes a long way. So even though what I'm going to show you here, or link to you here, is a 18-ounce bottle, you are highly, highly, highly unlikely to ever use that entire bottle up on your own. So if you have friends, like other lawn care geeks that are really into their lawns that you can split the cost with and are going to use it too, then it makes sense. But if it's just for you, unless you've got a really large property, you're highly unlikely to use it. So what else you can do is, if you don't want to use Spectacle Flow, but that is the best, that is the best one for POA, is you can kind of make your own concoction that will work very well against POA. That involves using Prediamine for your pre-emergent, and then using Princep or Simazine and Imazaquin or Image along with the Prediamine. So you're going to use Prediamine as your base, and that the application rates, I've got like tons of videos on that, and then Princep at, I believe the rate is 0.75 ounces per 1,000 square feet with a gallon of water. And then for Image, because even though the label for Image calls for applying it 2.5 ounces, because you're mixing it along with another herbicide, I like to back the rate down a little bit to 2 ounces per 1,000. So 2 ounces per 1,000 of the Image along with Princep and along with Prediamine. That is like a poor man's Spectacle Flow that produces really good results. But then now you're mixing 3 different products, and you gotta buy 3 different products, and you gotta mix them and then apply them. The cost of doing it that way is less. It is cheaper than Spectacle Flow, but it's more work. And also, as far as longevity, is not as good, because Spectacle Flow, if you apply it, depending on conditions, and ideal conditions, a single application of Spectacle Flow can last for up to 10 months, right? Whereas this concoction I'm telling you about, Prediamine, Simazine, and Imazaquin, is really like 4 months. Really, is what you're going to get out of it. So it can work. It's going to keep POA out of your lawn, but it's not going to work as well as Spectacle. So you want one and done, get this stuff. Just bring your wallet though when you do. So hope that helps, sir. And as far as hybrid Bermuda grass, you're good to go for So it has rates for hybrid and common. Read that, and then you're that will take care of you. It just depends on which way you want to go. What is your what you're looking for in your particular lawn. What's going to work for you? Okay, next is Ben Raham. Do you edge, string trim, and blow with every mow? No, I do not. I do it like because here's the thing, guys. I hate edging. I really don't like edging. I love the way it looks, but I hate doing it. So every second or third mow is when I will edge, and I don't use and I don't string trim. I use a stick. Here's my my process, right? I will stick edge, and then I will get out my rotary scissors and go like around the mailbox, along the fence, and all this kind of stuff. And then I will get out there and mow, and then I'll blow off everything. So it's like a process. So that's why I don't do it after every mow. I use growth regulator. I use Primo Max, which is why I don't have to do it after every one, because it doesn't get too unruly. It needs it now. I need to get out there and do an edge maybe tomorrow. I got to get out there and do it, but yeah, I don't do it after every single one. I don't have to because of the growth regulator. Okay, let's see. Edwin and Half are having a sidebar. And let's see here. Edwin is saying, thanks for the suggestion. How soon after killing off the soon-to-be dead lawn can I, let's say, lay sod? What I would say is, if you spray the Fungicide glyphosate combination, and again, that is non-selective, so it's going to kill everything. You spray that, I would give it a few weeks. And then I would lay the sod afterwards. That is what that would be my plan. I would give it a couple of weeks between the time you kill out the lawn and the time. I would give it a couple of weeks between the time you apply it and then you do the sod. What you're going to find is within 4 or 5 days, the Bermuda is going to begin discoloring, because when you first spray it with the glyphosate and the Fungicide, not a whole lot's going to happen on day 1, 2, or 3. But then what you're going to find is it's going to begin to fade. It's going to start saying, "Oh, it looks like a lawn that's kind of going dormant." And then it's going to really ramp up and die off, and then it's going to get crispy, like dead and crispy, like dead. And that's going to really give the products ample time to really work. It's going to be a couple of weeks. So then after that, it would be the time when you could go out and introduce your sod, and that's going to give you a good result. So hope that helps, Edwin. That is what I would do, man. I really wouldn't go through all the trouble of doing seed just for 2,000 square feet. I would just sod it. Then you get some of that Tahoma 31, some of that good. Good. All right, next up, we're running down on out of comments, guys. This is good. We're almost running down. It's getting slower. Next up is Edwin. He says, thanks. Half the common Bermuda is like 500 square feet. I would probably take a couple seasons to take over. Too long. So Half said that he says, I fertilizer burnt my St. Augustine, and now common Bermuda is taking it over. What are my options, and what would you do? The St. Augustine seems to be coming back, but it looks to be no match for the Bermuda as of now. That's a tough one, man. So here's the thing. Getting rid of St. Augustine in Bermuda is easier. It's much easier. You can use quinclorac for that at higher rates. Use like mixed like methylated seed oil, and it's easy to get rid of the St. Augustine in Bermuda. The other way around really isn't. I don't know of an easy way to kill Bermuda in St. Augustine without injuring the St. Augustine in the process. You know what I mean? So of those two, Bermuda is the more alpha of the two when it comes to just being more resistant to herbicides than St. Augustine. The quinclorac will injure St. Augustine. There's other herbicides you can use that will injure St. Augustine, but Bermuda, not so much. I have to check the label for Fungicide. I don't think Fungicide is rated for use on St. Augustine. I don't believe so. Check the label and see. But the other way is it's hard. I don't have something for you off the top of my head. Is what I'm getting to, Half. You can. The other way around is easy, but making a St. Augustine take over Bermuda is a tough one, unfortunately. All right, you're very welcome. Ben Kane. You're very, very welcome, sir. And then I think here we have Brian Lomax here. He has a question. He says, hey, in one of your previous calls you were on with another brother. It says, that burn spot in my lawn is growing back after 2 years. You both told me I had to wait. I waited, and now the lawn looks great. Oh, you're talking about the I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the live stream when we had BYD on. Yeah. So you said you burnt your lawn and it's starting to grow back. So it's just the thing, guys. with grass, as much as we might think that we are instrumental, like we're not there babysitting it, the grass just will not grow. Grass was growing before we were around, and it will be growing long after we are gone. So the thing that most grass or most lawn care problems, the thing that fixes grass lawn care problems more than anything else is time. So the products that we use definitely speed things up. Like if you have a bare spot in your lawn, it's one of those things that it's just a time thing. Can fertilizer help a little bit? Sure. Can like adding like a very rich organic material help some? Yes, but really it still boils down to time. So I'm glad, Brian, that in literally like a year, you're already seeing better results, which is really cool. So I'm glad to hear that the results that BYD and I gave you is helpful. It's good. It's good stuff. Thank you. Thanks for that. Keep going. It's only going to get better from here, right? Ignacio has a question I've never gotten before. This is an interesting one. He says, how would you describe the smell of Primo? Very unique, like, and a bit sweet, like it. I like it. Grass does amazingly this season. Yeah, so I would say that. It is like I don't go out trying to and smell it because I'm sure it's not good for you. I mean, I smell it as a byproduct of spraying it on the lawn. But I think your assessment is pretty accurate. It's a bit, a hint of sweet, a bit sweet, and it's sweet and medicine-y. So if you could say something that's sweet and but put like a medicine spin on it, that is what Primo smells like to me. It smells like a sweet medicine product. I think that had to do that. Yeah. So a bit sweet, but like medicine-y sweet. So it smells like a sweet chemical because that's what it is. It's sweet for your grass, right? And that's it. Well, all right, guys, gals, and everyone else that stuck around here through the live stream, through the disconnection. I really, really do appreciate you guys. I'm hoping that this is an isolated problem with the machine crashing. It's the first time it's happened in the 2 years since we've been doing the live stream, and it's happened a couple times to me since the last security update, last patch for Mac OS. If it keeps happening, I'm gonna have to figure something out because I can't be crashing in the middle of a live stream, right? We just can't have that happening. But I appreciate you guys sticking around and hanging out with me anyway. I really, really do appreciate all the love and support. It is the season for pre-emergent, so if you are looking to get pre-emergent to keep weeds out of your lawn this fall, which is way less expensive than having to buy expensive products to kill weeds after the fact, check out the Golf Course Lawn Store. Go to the weed killer section. We've got dithiopyr and prediamine. The prediamine in both liquid and granular form, and dithiopyr in granular form. They're both easy to apply, produce a great result, and will make your lawn look awesome. Will make your lawn awesome. Guys, thank you so much. I would play a sound effect, but it looks like I found it. There we go. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Get out this weekend, do something fun and awesome in your lawn. I'm thinking about, here's the thing, guys, before you guys leave, I'm thinking about doing either a mow or something this weekend. So if I can get it all to work out, get all the scheduling to work out, I will do a live stream mowing and just talking about some lawn care stuff tomorrow or the weekend at some point. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate you. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Have an amazing weekend.